Everyone fails. Everyone struggles. Everyone experiences moments where things do not go according to plan. Dreams collapse. Opportunities disappear. Effort feels wasted. And sometimes, life hits harder than expected. But this is the truth most people never fully understand. Failure is not what destroys people. Giving up does. This is the key principle. Setbacks are not permanent unless you stop moving forward. Now understand this clearly. Failure is not proof that you are incapable. It is proof that you attempted something difficult. Every successful person you admire has experienced rejection, loss, mistakes, embarrassment, setbacks, disappointment, seasons of uncertainty. The difference is they did not allow failure to define their future. Most people do. They fail once and emotionally surrender. They begin doubting themselves, questioning their ability, avoiding risk, avoiding growth, and slowly, fear replaces ambition. This audiobook is about breaking that pattern because failure can either destroy your confidence or build your strength. The outcome depends on your response. Mentally strong people understand this deeply. They do not see failure as the end. They see it as feedback, training, experience, correction, a lesson that prepares them for growth. And because of that, setbacks become part of their transformation instead of the reason they stop. Another important truth: pain changes people, but pain can change you in two different directions. It can make you bitter, fearful, weak, emotionally closed, or it can make you wiser, stronger, more disciplined, more resilient, more focused. You choose which version develops. Another critical insight: your comeback begins the moment you stop seeing failure as your identity. You are not your mistakes. You are not your worst moment. You are not one setback. What matters most is what you learn, how you respond, whether you continue. This is why resilience matters so much. Another important principle: some of your greatest growth will come from seasons you never wanted to experience, because pressure reveals your mindset, your habits, your emotional strength, your discipline, your ability to continue under pain. And when you survive difficult seasons, you become stronger than before. This audiobook is not about pretending failure feels good. Failure hurts. Disappointment hurts. Loss hurts. But pain does not have to become permanent defeat. You can rebuild. You can recover. You can rise again. Another important truth: your future is not decided by what happened to you. It is decided by what you choose to do next. That changes everything. As you move through this audiobook, you will learn how to recover mentally after setbacks, rebuild confidence after failure, use pain as fuel for growth, develop resilience under pressure, stop letting fear control your future, turn difficult seasons into transformation, because your setback is not your ending. It is a test of whether you are willing to continue. And if you continue, you may discover that failure did not break you. It built you. This is where your comeback begins. Chapter 1: Failure does not define you. One mistake can destroy a person's confidence. One rejection, one loss, one failed attempt. And suddenly, they begin questioning everything about themselves: their ability, their future, their worth. This is the first danger of failure. People start identifying with what happened instead of separating themselves from it. This is the key principle. Failure is an event, not your identity. Now understand this clearly. You are not your worst moment. You are not one bad decision. You are not one setback. You are not one season of struggle. But many people begin believing they are. They fail and then mentally become the failure. That mindset is dangerous because once identity becomes attached to defeat, action slows down, confidence weakens, fear grows stronger, and eventually, people stop trying completely. Mentally resilient people understand something different. They separate failure from identity. They say, I failed at something, not I am a failure. That distinction changes everything. Another important truth: every successful person has experienced setbacks. Every strong person has gone through moments where Things collapsed. Effort felt wasted. Plans failed. Confidence disappeared temporarily. Life became uncertain. The difference is they refuse to let temporary failure become permanent identity. Another critical insight: failure often attacks self-worth first. It whispers, "You are not good enough. You should stop trying. You will never succeed. You embarrass yourself." And if you listen to those thoughts long enough, you begin shrinking your own future. This is why mental recovery matters. Another important principle: failure is information. It reveals weaknesses, mistakes, blind spots, areas needing growth, what must improve. And painful feedback often creates powerful transformation. Breaking the emotional weight of failure requires awareness. You must stop replaying your mistakes as proof of worthlessness. A practical strategy is simple: separate the lesson from the identity. Ask, "What can this teach me?" Not, "What is wrong with me?" That question changes direction. Another effective strategy is self-compassion with responsibility. Do not destroy yourself emotionally for being imperfect. Acknowledge mistakes honestly. Learn from them. Then continue moving. There's also value in perspective. One setback is not your entire future. One difficult season is not your permanent reality. Life changes. People grow. Situations evolve. Now go deeper. Failure often reveals hidden emotional patterns: fear of judgment, fear of embarrassment, fear of inadequacy, fear of trying again. Awareness of these patterns creates healing and growth. Another critical insight: many people quit not because they truly cannot succeed, but because they become emotionally exhausted from self-criticism. They attack themselves internally until hope disappears. This is why your inner dialogue matters so much. Another important truth: you must stop using failure as evidence against your future. Use it as preparation instead. Another powerful principle: pain can either become poison or training. The choice depends on your response. Another important factor is emotional recovery. After setbacks, rest if needed, reflect honestly, process emotions, learn lessons, then rebuild intentionally. Do not stay emotionally trapped in the fall forever. Another useful strategy is remembering previous survival. You have already survived difficult moments before. You adapted, recovered, continued. That means you are stronger than temporary pain suggests. Another critical insight: confidence is rebuilt through action, not overthinking, not hiding, not isolating yourself from life. Movement rebuilds belief. Another important principle: your future deserves another attempt. Do not let one painful chapter decide the rest of your story. Another powerful truth: failure often creates strength success alone never could. Some lessons only appear through struggle. Another important factor is avoiding comparison after failure. Do not measure your broken season against someone else's highlight moment. Focus on recovery. Focus on rebuilding. Focus on growth. Another useful strategy is rebuilding slowly if necessary. You do not need instant recovery. You need continued recovery. Small progress still matters. Another critical insight: the people who rise after failure are not always fearless. They simply decide their future matters more than their fear. Another important principle: every comeback begins internally first, before success returns externally. Belief must begin rebuilding internally. Another powerful truth: your value did not disappear because something failed. You are still capable of growth, still capable of rebuilding, still capable of rising again. Another important factor is patience with yourself. Healing, growth, recovery, confidence rebuilding. These things take time. Allow yourself to grow through the process. Another useful strategy is changing your language. Instead of saying, "My life is ruined," say, "I am rebuilding." Language shapes mindset. Mindset shapes action. Another critical insight: some of the strongest people you will ever meet are people who survived difficult seasons without giving up. Pain built their strength. Another important principle: failure only becomes permanent when you stop trying to rise again. Another powerful truth: Your setback may become the very thing that teaches you how strong you truly are. Ultimately, failure does not define you. Your response does. So as you move forward, stop identifying with your worst moments. Stop allowing mistakes to decide your future. Stop speaking to yourself like defeat is permanent. Learn, heal, adjust, rebuild, and rise again with greater wisdom and strength than before. Because when you stop seeing failure as identity, hope returns, confidence rebuilds, resilience strengthens, and your comeback finally begins. That is where recovery starts. The moment you decide, this setback is not the end of me. Chapter 2. Pain can either break you or build you. Pain changes people. Failure changes people. Disappointment changes people. The question is, what will those experiences turn you into? This is the key principle. Pain is not automatically destructive. It becomes destructive only when you stop growing through it. Now understand this clearly. Everyone experiences pain differently. Some people become bitter, angry, closed emotionally, fearful of trying again. Others become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more resilient. The pain was real for both people, but the response was different. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They do not waste suffering completely. They ask, what can this experience teach me? That mindset transforms pain into growth. Another important truth: pain often reveals what comfort hides. Weak habits, weak thinking, emotional instability, fear, dependence, avoidance. Difficult seasons expose what must improve internally. And although painful, that awareness creates transformation. Another critical insight: most people try to escape pain immediately through distraction, isolation, avoidance, numbing themselves emotionally. But avoided pain often returns stronger later. Healing requires facing reality honestly. Another important principle: you must allow yourself to feel pain without allowing pain to control your future. This distinction matters. Ignoring emotions is unhealthy, but living permanently inside them is dangerous too. Breaking the cycle of emotional defeat requires awareness. You must notice what pain is teaching you, what fears are developing, what thoughts are becoming destructive, what behaviors are weakening your recovery. Awareness creates healing. A practical strategy is simple. Stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, how can I grow through this? That question shifts your focus from victimhood to strength. Another effective strategy is emotional honesty. Do not pretend you are unaffected. Pain acknowledged honestly heals faster than pain buried emotionally. There is also value in reflection. Some setbacks reveal wrong environments, wrong habits, wrong relationships, weak discipline, areas needing maturity. Pain often exposes truth clearly. Now go deeper. Pain builds emotional endurance. Every difficult season you survive strengthens your ability to handle future pressure. This is why resilient people often become calmer after hardship. They know they can survive difficulty. Another critical insight: your hardest seasons may develop your strongest qualities. Patience, discipline, wisdom, self-control, emotional strength. These qualities are often built through struggle. Another important truth: not all growth feels positive while it's happening. Sometimes transformation feels painful before it becomes powerful. Another powerful principle: you must stop seeing pain only as punishment. Sometimes pain is preparation. Preparation for greater strength, wiser decisions, stronger boundaries, deeper discipline, a better future version of yourself. Another important factor is refusing to stay emotionally trapped in the past. Learn from pain, but do not build your identity around suffering. You still deserve growth. You still deserve healing. You still deserve another chance at life. Another useful strategy is rebuilding daily structure after emotional setbacks. Pain often creates chaos. Restore stability through routines, healthy habits, exercise, reflection, focused action, positive environments. Structure helps recovery. Another critical insight: some people become stronger because pain forced them to grow. They develop resilience they would never have built otherwise. Another important principle: your scars can become wisdom instead of weakness, but only if you continue healing instead of surrendering. Another powerful truth: strength is often built quietly, through surviving days nobody else fully understands. Another important factor is forgiveness. Sometimes healing requires forgiving yourself, other people, the past, what did not happen the way you hoped, not because pain was acceptable, but because carrying bitterness destroys peace. Another useful strategy is focusing on what still remains possible. Failure closes some doors, but life continues opening others. Do not become blind to future opportunity because of past disappointment. Another critical insight: pain becomes more dangerous when it creates hopelessness. Protect hope carefully. Even small hope matters. Another important principle: you are allowed to rebuild slowly. Recovery is still progress. Healing is still growth. Another powerful truth: the strongest people are often people who learn how to continue while hurting. Another important factor is perspective. One painful chapter is not your entire story. Life keeps moving. Growth keeps happening. Transformation is still possible. Another useful strategy is using pain as fuel instead of identity. Let difficult experiences strengthen your discipline, not destroy your future. Another critical insight: some of your greatest breakthroughs may come after your most painful seasons. Another important principle: you cannot always control what hurts you, but you can control whether pain becomes your ending. Another powerful truth: you are stronger than the pain trying to convince you to stop. Ultimately, pain can either break you or build you. The decision happens through your response. So as you move forward, stop allowing pain to convince you that life is over. Stop seeing difficult seasons as proof that you cannot recover. Stop surrendering your future to temporary suffering. Feel the pain honestly, learn from it deeply, grow through it intentionally, and continue rebuilding your life one step at a time. Because when pain becomes fuel instead of defeat, your mindset strengthens, your resilience deepens, your wisdom expands, and your comeback becomes stronger than the setback that tried to destroy you. That is where true strength is built, inside the decision to rise while still healing. Chapter 3: Rebuild yourself one step at a time. After failure, many people feel overwhelmed. Everything feels broken. Confidence feels weak. Motivation disappears. And the future that once felt clear suddenly becomes uncertain. This is where many people make a dangerous mistake. They think recovery must happen instantly. They expect themselves to immediately feel strong again, focus again, confident again. But healing and rebuilding rarely happen all at once. This is the key principle. Comebacks are built gradually through repeated small steps. Now understand this clearly. You do not rebuild your life in one dramatic moment. You rebuild through daily discipline, small decisions, consistent effort, emotional recovery, repeated action despite discomfort. That is how strength returns. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop waiting for a perfect emotional recovery before moving forward. Instead, they begin rebuilding while still healing. And because of that, momentum slowly returns. Another important truth: small progress matters more than emotional intensity. Many people believe they need massive motivation to restart, but recovery is usually quieter than that. One healthy habit, one focused day, one disciplined decision, one step forward repeated consistently. That is how comebacks begin. Another critical insight: your life becomes stable again through structure. Failure often creates emotional chaos. Overthinking, fear, confusion, self-doubt. This is why routines become important during recovery. Structure creates emotional grounding. Another important principle: do not focus only on how far you still need to go. Focus on what you can rebuild today. That keeps recovery manageable. Breaking the feeling of hopelessness requires movement, even small movement. A practical strategy is simple: create daily actions that rebuild stability. Wake up intentionally. Exercise regularly. Read or learn daily. Protect your environment. Complete small tasks consistently. Limit destructive distractions. These small actions restore control. Another effective strategy is rebuilding confidence through completion. Every completed action sends a message to your mind. I am moving again. That matters psychologically. There is also value in emotional patience. Some wounds take time to heal. Do not hate yourself for recovering slowly. Progress still counts. Now go deeper. Rebuilding yourself means rebuilding identity. Failure often damages self-image. People begin seeing themselves as weak, incapable, broken, behind in life. But identity can change again through repeated disciplined behavior. Another critical insight: momentum returns before confidence fully does. Many people wait to feel confident before acting, but confidence often returns after consistent action begins. Move first, belief follows later. Another important truth: your environment affects recovery deeply. If you constantly stay around negativity, discouragement, distraction, chaotic influences, healing becomes harder. Protect your environment carefully during rebuilding seasons. Another powerful principle: you must stop measuring your recovery against other people's timelines. Everyone heals differently. Everyone rebuilds differently. Focus on your own progress. Another important factor is self-forgiveness. You cannot rebuild while constantly attacking yourself emotionally. Learn from mistakes. Take responsibility, but also allow yourself to grow beyond them. Another useful strategy is rebuilding discipline before chasing huge goals again. Stability first, consistency first, strong habits first. Solid foundations create lasting recovery. Another critical insight: pain can weaken you temporarily, but repeated discipline rebuilds strength gradually. Another important principle: you are allowed to begin again, and again, as many times as necessary. Another powerful truth: some of the strongest people rebuilt themselves quietly after seasons nobody else fully understood. Recovery often happens in silence before success becomes visible publicly. Another important factor is avoiding emotional extremes. Do not expect every day to feel powerful. Some days will feel heavy. Continue anyway. Consistency matters more than emotion. Another useful strategy is celebrating small victories. Do not ignore progress simply because it feels small. Small wins rebuild confidence. Another critical insight: your comeback begins the moment you stop identifying only with the pain and start participating in your recovery actively. Another important principle: rebuilding requires honesty. You must acknowledge what failed, what needs improvement, what habits must change, what patterns damage your progress. Awareness creates stronger rebuilding. Another powerful truth: the version of you created through recovery may become stronger than the version that existed before the setback happened. Another important factor is hope. Protect hope carefully during rebuilding seasons. Even small hope creates strength to continue. Another useful strategy is future-focused thinking. Do not stay mentally trapped in the worst chapter of your life. A painful chapter is not the final chapter. Another critical insight: every disciplined action during recovery is proof that defeat is not controlling your future anymore. Another important principle: healing and growth can happen at the same time. You do not need to wait until you feel perfect before rebuilding your life. Another powerful truth: comebacks are not built through dramatic speeches. They are built through quiet, repeated effort over time. Ultimately, rebuilding yourself means deciding that your future is still worth fighting for despite what happened. So as you move forward, stop expecting instant transformation. Stop believing recovery must look perfect. Stop allowing temporary pain to convince you that rebuilding is impossible. Take the next step, then another. Rebuild your routines. Rebuild your confidence. Rebuild your discipline. And continue moving forward one day at a time. Because when you keep rebuilding despite the pain, your strength returns, your identity changes, your hope grows stronger, and your comeback slowly becomes real. That is where recovery turns into transformation, one step at a time. Chapter 4. Stop blaming the past. Your future still belongs to you. Many people stay emotionally trapped in the past. Past mistakes, past failures, past rejection, past pain, and little by little, they begin believing their future has already been damaged permanently. This is one of the biggest lies failure creates. This is the key principle. Your past may influence you, but it does not have to define your future. Now understand this clearly. You cannot change what already happened. You cannot rewrite old mistakes. You cannot erase painful seasons. But you can decide whether those experiences continue controlling your direction. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They learn from the past without living inside it forever. And because of that, they continue growing instead of remaining emotionally stuck. Another important truth: blaming the past creates powerlessness. When you constantly focus on what went wrong, who hurt you, what you lost, what failed, what should have happened differently, your energy stays connected to pain instead of progress. This slows recovery. Another critical insight: some people become emotionally attached to their suffering. Pain becomes identity. Failure becomes identity. Victimhood becomes identity. And once that happens, growth becomes difficult because the mind starts protecting the pain instead of healing from it. Another important principle: you are not required to deny your pain, but you are responsible for deciding what happens next. That responsibility creates power. Breaking free from the past requires emotional honesty. You must acknowledge what hurt you, what failed, what disappointed you, what changed you emotionally, without allowing those things to become permanent chains around your future. A practical strategy is simple. Stop asking, "Why did this happen?" and start asking, "What can I build from here?" That question shifts your focus toward growth again. Another effective strategy is separating memory from identity. Painful experiences happen to you, but they are not the total definition of who you are. There is also value in accepting that some chapters ended for a reason. Not every loss destroyed your future. Some losses redirected it. Now go deeper. The past becomes dangerous when it controls present behavior. Some people stop trusting, stop trying, stop dreaming, stop risking growth because they are trying to avoid repeating old pain. But avoiding all risk also blocks transformation. Another critical insight: fear often grows from unresolved emotional wounds. This is why healing matters, not only for peace, but for progress. Another important truth: you cannot build a stronger future while constantly replaying weaker versions of yourself mentally. Growth requires new thinking. Another powerful principle: forgiveness is part of freedom, not because people always deserve forgiveness, but because bitterness keeps pain alive emotionally. Sometimes you must forgive yourself, other people, life circumstances, the version of life you thought would happen, so you can move forward again. Another important factor is self-forgiveness. Many people punish themselves for years over mistakes they already learned from. That emotional punishment destroys confidence slowly. Learn, take responsibility, then allow yourself to grow beyond the mistake. Another useful strategy is rebuilding future vision. Pain narrows perspective. It convinces people nothing good is ahead. Fight that mindset intentionally. Your future still contains possibility. Another critical insight: you are not behind forever because of one difficult season. Life changes, people evolve, healing happens, new opportunities appear. Another important principle: you must stop reliving the worst chapter of your life every day mentally. That chapter happened, but it does not deserve permanent control over your identity. Another powerful truth: some people discover their greatest strength only after everything once familiar collapsed. Difficulty reveals resilience. Another important factor is emotional responsibility. Healing is your responsibility now, not because what happened was fair, but because your future still matters. Another useful strategy is focusing on present action. You cannot repair yesterday directly, but you can improve today. And repeated healthy days rebuild life gradually. Another critical insight: many people delay recovery because they secretly believe they do not deserve another chance. You do. Growth is still possible. Another important principle: the strongest people are not people without painful histories. They are people who refuse to let pain permanently control their direction. Another powerful truth: your future deserves more attention than your regrets. Another important factor is patience. Healing old wounds takes time. Allow yourself to rebuild gradually. Another useful strategy is replacing destructive mental repetition instead of replaying failures, embarrassments, regrets. Begin focusing on lessons, growth, new opportunities, current progress. This shifts emotional energy forward. Another critical insight: the moment you stop seeing yourself only through your past, your comeback becomes possible again. Another important principle: your life is still being written. One painful chapter does not end the story. Another powerful truth: you can become wiser because of your past without remaining imprisoned by it. Ultimately, healing begins when you stop giving the past authority over the future. You still have the power to build. So as you move forward, stop allowing old pain to define your identity. Stop punishing yourself endlessly for mistakes already made. Stop surrendering your future to memories you cannot change. Learn from the past. Heal honestly. Forgive where necessary. And begin building forward again. Because when you release the belief that your past destroyed your future, hope returns, strength rebuilds, vision becomes possible again, and your comeback finally gains momentum. That is where freedom begins. The moment you decide, my past will not control the rest of my life. Chapter 5: Fear of failure is keeping most people stuck. Many people never truly pursue their potential, not because they lack ability, not because opportunity is impossible, but because fear controls their decisions. Fear of failing, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish. And because of that fear, they stay inside safe routines that slowly destroy their growth. This is the key principle. Fear of failure becomes more dangerous than failure itself when it stops you from trying. Now understand this clearly. Failure hurts. Disappointment hurts. Mistakes hurt. But regret often hurts longer. Many people spend years wondering, what if I had tried? What if I had continued? What if I had believed in myself? That emotional weight becomes heavy over time. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They feel fear too, but they refuse to let fear make their decisions permanently. And because of that, they continue moving while others remain trapped in hesitation. Another important truth: fear is natural. Your mind wants safety, comfort, predictability. It tries to protect you from pain. But growth rarely happens inside complete safety. Everything meaningful requires emotional risk. Another critical insight: most fear exists in imagination before reality. People replay worst-case scenarios, judgment from others, potential failure, embarrassment, loss, so intensely that they never begin moving at all. This creates paralysis. Another important principle: you cannot build confidence while constantly avoiding uncomfortable situations. Confidence grows through exposure, action, experience, recovery after mistakes. That is how courage develops. Breaking the grip of fear requires movement, not perfect certainty. Movement. A practical strategy is simple. Do not focus on the entire future. Focus on taking the next step despite fear. Small action weakens hesitation. Another effective strategy is reframing failure. Stop seeing failure only as humiliation. Failure can also be learning, correction, experience, growth, preparation for future success. That perspective changes emotional response. There is also value in accepting imperfection. Many people fear failure because they believe mistakes destroy worth. They do not. Mistakes are part of development. Now go deeper. Fear often grows stronger through avoidance. The more you avoid difficult situations, the more emotionally powerful they become. But when you face fear repeatedly, its control weakens gradually. Another critical insight: most successful people were once inexperienced, uncertain, and afraid. The difference is they acted anyway. Another important truth: fear of judgment traps many people in average lives. They worry, what will people think? But people will always have opinions. If you stay small, someone will criticize you. If you grow, someone will criticize you. Do not surrender your future to temporary opinions. Another powerful principle: courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. That distinction matters deeply. Another important factor is self-trust. Every time you face fear and survive, you strengthen belief in yourself. You realize, I can handle difficult situations. That realization builds resilience. Another useful strategy is shortening the gap between decision and action. The longer you overthink, the larger fear becomes emotionally. Move sooner. Another critical insight. Most people imagine failure as permanent, but failure is usually temporary. Recovery is possible. Growth is possible. Comebacks are possible. Another important principle. Fear becomes smaller when purpose becomes stronger. When your vision matters deeply enough, you become more willing to tolerate discomfort. Another powerful truth. Some opportunities only appear after courage. Fear blocks access to experiences that could transform your life. Another important factor is emotional resilience after mistakes. You may fail sometimes. You may feel embarrassed sometimes. Continue anyway. Temporary discomfort is survivable. Another useful strategy is evidence-based thinking. Ask yourself, how many fears in my past actually happened exactly the way I imagined? Most fears are exaggerated mentally. Another critical insight. Your future changes the moment you stop demanding guaranteed outcomes before taking action. Nothing meaningful comes with complete certainty. Another important principle. Growth always includes vulnerability. You must become willing to try, learn, fail, improve, try again. That is how transformation happens. Another powerful truth. Fear loses power when action becomes a habit. Repeated courage builds emotional strength. Another important factor is comparison. Some people fear failure because they compare their beginning to someone else's success. Stop doing that. Everyone starts somewhere. Another useful strategy is celebrating courage itself. Even imperfect action matters. Trying matters. Showing up matters. That is how confidence grows. Another critical insight. The life you want is usually on the other side of the fear trying to stop you. Another important principle. You cannot completely avoid failure and still build an extraordinary life. Risk is part growth. Another powerful truth. Most regrets come from hesitation, not courageous attempts. Ultimately, fear of failure only controls your future if you allow it to stop your movement completely. So as you move forward, stop waiting for fear to disappear completely. Stop demanding certainty before action. Stop allowing imagined failure to destroy real opportunity. Feel the fear honestly, but move anyway. Take the next step anyway. Try again anyway. And continue building your life despite uncertainty. Because when courage becomes stronger than fear, your confidence grows, your resilience deepens, your opportunities expand, and your comeback becomes stronger than the fear that once tried to stop it. That is where transformation begins. The moment you decide, I would rather try and grow than stay trapped in fear forever. Chapter 6. Your lowest moments can become your greatest turning point. Some moments change you forever. The moment everything falls apart. The moment you lose something important. The moment failure becomes real. The moment you feel emotionally exhausted and unsure how to continue. In those moments, life can feel heavy, unfair, confusing, and many people believe this is the end. But sometimes, your lowest moment becomes the beginning of your transformation. This is the key principle. Rock bottom can become the foundation you rebuild your life upon. Now understand this clearly. Pain has a way of forcing honesty. During comfortable seasons, people ignore problems, ignore weak habits, ignore emotional wounds, ignore unhealthy patterns. But difficult seasons expose everything clearly. And although painful, that awareness creates opportunity for change. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this season trying to teach me? That shift changes recovery completely. Another important truth. Some people only discover their strength after life removes their comfort. Pressure reveals character, discipline, endurance, emotional maturity, the ability to continue under pain. Without struggle, some strengths remain hidden forever. Another critical insight. Your lowest moment often destroys illusions. It forces you to see What is unhealthy? What is unsustainable? What must change? What no longer aligns with your future? Painful truth can become powerful transformation. Another important principle: you must stop viewing difficult seasons only as punishment. Sometimes life is forcing growth you would never choose voluntarily. Breaking the feeling of hopelessness requires perspective. You must remember this moment is painful, but it is not permanent. A practical strategy is simple: focus on rebuilding instead of reliving. Do not spend every day replaying what broke you. Spend time rebuilding what strengthens you. Another effective strategy is accepting reality honestly. Healing begins when denial ends. Acknowledge what happened, what hurt, what failed, what must improve. Honesty creates direction. There is also value in emotional endurance. Not every painful season can be escaped immediately. Some seasons must simply be survived one day at a time. Now go deeper. Your lowest moments often reveal who truly supports you, who stays, who disappears, who strengthens your healing, who weakens it. Difficulty exposes relationships clearly. Another critical insight: many people become stronger because pain forced them to rebuild differently, smarter, wiser, more disciplined, more intentional. Another important truth: you are not weak because you struggled emotionally. You are human. Strength is not pretending pain does not exist. Strength is continuing despite it. Another powerful principle: transformation often begins after breakdown. Sometimes old versions of you must collapse before stronger versions can develop. Another important factor is refusing to stay emotionally stuck. Pain should teach you, not imprison you. There comes a moment where healing requires forward movement again. Another useful strategy is rebuilding daily stability. During difficult seasons, sleep consistently, protect your environment, move your body, eat intentionally, reduce chaos, focus on small productive actions. Structure restores mental strength gradually. Another critical insight: your worst season may eventually become the story that inspires other people not to give up. Pain can create purpose. Another important principle: you must stop measuring your future only by your current emotional state. Feelings change, situations change, people recover, life rebuilds. Another powerful truth: some of the strongest minds were built during seasons where nobody thought they would recover fully. Another important factor is hope. Protect hope carefully during dark periods. Even small hope creates enough light to continue moving. Another useful strategy is reducing isolation. Pain often convinces people to completely disconnect from life, but healthy support matters during recovery. Another critical insight: the version of you created through survival may become stronger than the version that existed before the collapse happened. Another important principle: do not let temporary darkness convince you there is no future ahead. Pain distorts perspective. Healing restores it. Another powerful truth: your comeback often begins quietly. One decision, one habit, one step, one day where you choose not to give up. Another important factor is self-belief during uncertainty. Even if confidence feels weak, continue rebuilding anyway. Strength returns gradually. Another useful strategy is focusing on meaning instead of only pain. Ask, how can this experience make me wiser, stronger, and more intentional? Growth changes suffering. Another critical insight: the people who rise strongest after failure are usually the people who refuse to stay broken permanently. Another important principle: your lowest moment does not deserve the final word over your life. Another powerful truth: some endings become beginnings in disguise. Ultimately, your darkest season may become the moment that force you to become the strongest version of yourself. So as you move forward, stop believing your life ended because one season collapsed. Stop allowing pain to convince you that rebuilding is impossible. Stop identifying only with what broke you. Learn from the darkness, grow through the pressure, rebuild intentionally, and continue moving forward even if progress feels slow. Because when you refuse to stay defeated, your mindset strengthens, your resilience deepens, your identity transforms, and your comeback begins rising from the very place that once tried to destroy you. That is where true transformation begins. At the moment you decide, my lowest point will not be my final destination. Chapter 7. Stop letting one failure destroy your future. One failure can make people give up on themselves completely. One rejection, one mistake, one painful loss. And suddenly, they begin believing, maybe I'm not meant for success. Maybe I should stop trying. Maybe this is all my life will ever be. This is one of the greatest dangers after failure. People allow one painful moment to define the rest of their future. This is the key principle. One setback should never have the authority to decide your entire life. Now understand this clearly. A bad chapter is not a bad ending. But many people treat temporary defeat as permanent identity. They stop trying, stop believing, stop rebuilding, and slowly, their future becomes smaller than their potential. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They know failure is part of growth, not proof that growth is impossible. And because they continue, their story changes. Another important truth: every successful person has moments they could have quit permanently. Moments where nothing worked, confidence disappeared, people doubted them, plans collapsed, the future felt uncertain. But they continued long enough for life to change again. That continuation mattered. Another critical insight: your emotional reaction after failure influences your future more than the failure itself. Some people fall, then stay down emotionally for years. Others fall, then slowly rebuild. The difference is response. Another important principle: you must stop speaking final words over temporary pain. Do not say, my life is over. I'll never recover. Nothing good will happen again. Pain distorts perspective. What feels permanent emotionally is often temporary in reality. Breaking the cycle of hopeless thinking requires awareness. You must notice when your mind starts turning temporary setbacks into permanent conclusions. A practical strategy is simple. Replace final thinking with rebuilding thinking. Instead of, it's over, say, this is painful, but I can rebuild. That language creates hope. Another effective strategy is separating outcomes from identity. A failed attempt does not mean you are a failed person. An unsuccessful season does not erase your value. There is also value in understanding that life changes in seasons. Some seasons are painful. Some are rebuilding seasons. Some are growth seasons. Nothing stays the same forever. Now go deeper. Many people become emotionally trapped because they keep reliving failure mentally. They replay what went wrong, what they lost, what embarrassed them, what they regret, again and again. This strengthens hopelessness. Healing requires forward movement. Another critical insight: your future still contains possibilities you cannot currently see. Pain narrows vision. It convinces people there is nothing ahead. But life keeps unfolding. New opportunities appear. New strengths develop. New chapters begin. Another important truth: failure often redirects people towards stronger paths. Some setbacks protect you from wrong environments, wrong relationships, wrong decisions, wrong versions of yourself. Not every closed door destroyed your future. Some redirected it. Another powerful principle: you must stop measuring your entire life by one painful moment. No single moment deserves that much power. Another important factor is emotional recovery through action. Hope grows stronger when you rebuild routines, you move again, you take responsibility, you continue growing, you stop isolating yourself emotionally. Movement restores belief gradually. Another useful strategy is future visualization. Do not only picture your pain. Imagine your recovery, your growth, your comeback, your future strength. Vision creates motivation. Another critical insight: most people underestimate how much life can change in 1 year of focused rebuilding. Consistency transforms situations gradually. Another important principle: do not confuse delay with destruction. A setback may slow progress temporarily, but it does not have to end your future. Another powerful truth: some of the strongest people once believed their life had completely fallen apart, but they rebuilt anyway. Another important factor is protecting your self-worth after failure. Your value did not disappear because something painful happened. You are still capable of growth, learning, healing, discipline, success, transformation. Never forget that. Another useful strategy is refusing to stay emotionally attached to defeat. You experience failure, but failure does not deserve permanent residence inside your identity. Another critical insight: comebacks begin the moment people decide, I will not let this be the end of me. That decision changes everything. Another important principle: the future belongs to people who continue rebuilding after disappointment. Another powerful truth: your story is still being written. Do not allow one painful chapter to become the entire book. Another important factor is resilience during uncertainty. You may not know exactly how things will improve yet. Continue moving anyway. Clarity often returns through action. Another useful strategy is daily rebuilding habits. Focus daily on health, discipline, learning, positive environments. Focus action, emotional recovery. These habits create momentum again. Another critical insight: people who rise after failure are not always stronger emotionally at first. They simply decide not to stay defeated permanently. Another powerful truth: your comeback may eventually become more powerful than the setback that created it. Ultimately, one painful moment should never decide the rest of your life. So as you move forward, stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop acting like one setback erased your potential. Stop surrendering your future because of temporary pain. Breathe, recover, rebuild, continue, and give yourself permission to rise again. Because when you stop letting failure define your future, hope returns, strength rebuilds, vision expands, and your comeback finally begins gaining power. That is where healing becomes momentum, the moment you decide, my story is not over yet. Chapter 8. Failure humiliates the ego, but it can strengthen the soul. Failure has a way of humbling people. It removes certainty, removes pride, removes the illusion of control, and sometimes it forces people to confront parts of themselves they spent years avoiding. This is painful, but it can also become powerful. This is the key principle. Failure can either damage your ego permanently or develop your character deeply. Now understand this clearly. The ego wants comfort, recognition, control, validation. It wants success without embarrassment, growth without struggle. But real transformation rarely happens inside comfort. It often begins when life humbles you. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop seeing failure only as humiliation. Instead, they begin using it as refinement, correction, growth, and because of that, their character becomes stronger than before. Another important truth: sometimes failure exposes unhealthy pride, the belief that you already know enough, you cannot fail, you are above correction, you do not need growth. But difficult seasons break false confidence, and honest humility creates space for real development. Another critical insight: ego often fears looking weak more than staying weak. This is why many people avoid asking for help, admitting mistakes, trying again, starting over, learning publicly. Their pride blocks growth. Another important principle: humility is not weakness. Humility is the willingness to learn, adapt, and rebuild without pretending perfection. That mindset creates resilience. Breaking free from ego-driven thinking requires honesty. You must acknowledge where pride damaged progress, where insecurity controlled decisions, where fear of judgment stopped growth, where emotional defensiveness blocked learning. Awareness creates maturity. A practical strategy is simple. Stop asking, how do I protect my image? And start asking, how do I improve honestly? That question changes everything. Another effective strategy is accepting imperfection publicly and privately. You are allowed to start over, be inexperienced, learn slowly, make mistakes, grow visibly. Perfection is not required for transformation. There is also value in emotional humility. Some lessons only become visible after life forces you to slow down and reflect honestly. Now go deeper. Failure often strips away false identity. People sometimes build identity around status, recognition, achievements, external validation. And when failure removes those things, they feel lost. But that collapse can reveal a deeper truth. Your value must become bigger than external success. Another critical insight: character matters more than image. Many people protect appearance while neglecting inner growth. But difficult seasons reveal who you truly are internally. Another important truth: strong people are willing to be students again. They do not allow pride to stop improvement. They remain teachable, flexible, open to growth. Another powerful principle: humility accelerates recovery. The moment you stop pretending everything is fine, real rebuilding can begin. Another important factor is emotional honesty. You do not become stronger by denying pain. You become stronger by facing reality without surrendering to it. Another useful strategy is focusing on internal growth during external struggle. Ask yourself, what qualities is the season trying to build in me? That creates deeper perspective. Another critical insight: some people become wiser after failure because pain removed the arrogance that once blinded them. Difficulty can increase wisdom. Another important principle: you do not need to protect an image more than you protect your future. Growth matters more than appearance. Another powerful truth: the strongest confidence is not built on pretending perfection. It is built on surviving difficulty honestly and continuing anyway. Another important factor is releasing comparison. Ego constantly compares status, progress, recognition, success. But healing requires focusing on your own journey. Another useful strategy is rebuilding identity around values instead of outcomes. Build identity around discipline, honesty, resilience, growth, integrity, persistence. These qualities survive difficult seasons. Another critical insight: failure often teaches compassion. People who struggle deeply often become wiser, more understanding, more patient, more emotionally mature. Pain can soften arrogance. Another important principle: do not let embarrassment stop your comeback. Temporary humiliation is survivable. Permanent surrender is far more dangerous. Another powerful truth: some of the most grounded people were shaped through seasons that destroyed their ego but strengthened their soul. Another important factor is letting go of the need to appear strong all the time. Real strength includes vulnerability, honesty, reflection, growth. Another useful strategy is learning without self-hatred. You can acknowledge mistakes without destroying your self-worth emotionally. Correction creates growth. Self-destruction creates stagnation. Another critical insight: the people who recover strongest after failure are often the people willing to humble themselves enough to rebuild properly. Another important principle: your setback may have damaged your pride, but it can strengthen your character if you allow growth to happen. Another powerful truth: life sometimes breaks false confidence, so real confidence can finally be built. Ultimately, failure becomes transformative when it teaches humility without destroying hope. So as you move forward, stop protecting your ego more than your growth. Stop fearing embarrassment more than stagnation. Stop pretending perfection while avoiding transformation. Be honest, be teachable, be willing to rebuild, and continue growing even after life humbles you. Because when humility replaces ego, wisdom increases, strength deepens, character develops, and your comeback becomes more authentic, grounded, and powerful than before. That is where true transformation happens. When failure stops being only humiliation and becomes a beginning of wisdom. Chapter 9. Rejection is not proof that you are worthless. Rejection hurts deeply. Being ignored, being overlooked, being told no, watching opportunities disappear, watching people walk away. These experiences can damage confidence quickly if you are not mentally prepared for them. This is the key principle. Rejection is part of life, not proof that you have no value. Now understand this clearly. Many people take rejection personally. They begin thinking, I'm not good enough. I must not matter. I'll never succeed. I'm unwanted. I'm incapable. And slowly, Rejection becomes identity instead of experience. That mindset becomes dangerous. Mentally resilient people understand something different. They know rejection happens to everyone, even talented people, even successful people, even strong people. The difference is they refuse to let rejection permanently control their self-worth. Another important truth: not every rejection is about your value. Sometimes the timing was wrong, the environment was wrong, the opportunity was not aligned, people lacked vision, circumstances changed, life redirected you elsewhere. You must stop assuming every closed door means you are unworthy. Another critical insight: fear of rejection keeps many people trapped in small lives. They avoid trying, speaking up, creating, applying, risking growth, building relationships, pursuing opportunities, because rejection feels emotionally painful. But avoiding rejection completely also avoids growth. Another important principle: you cannot build an extraordinary life while needing universal acceptance. Not everyone will believe in you, understand your vision, choose you, support your growth. That is normal. Breaking emotional dependence on approval requires internal stability. You must stop allowing external responses to completely determine your self-worth. A practical strategy is simple: separate rejection from identity. Instead of saying, "I was rejected because I have no value," say, "This opportunity did not work out." That distinction protects confidence. Another effective strategy is reframing rejection as redirection. Some closed doors protect your future. Some no answers move you toward better paths. Life often makes sense later. There is also value in emotional endurance. Rejection feels painful temporarily, but pain is survivable. You can recover. You can try again. Now go deeper. Rejection often reveals hidden insecurities: fear of abandonment, fear of inadequacy, fear of not being enough. These emotional wounds deserve healing, not permanent surrender. Another critical insight: many successful people experience repeated rejection before breakthroughs happen. Applications rejected, ideas ignored, talents overlooked, dreams doubted, but they continued anyway. That continuation changed everything. Another important truth: your worth cannot depend entirely on how other people respond to you, because people are inconsistent. Opinions change, environments change, circumstances change. You need stronger internal foundations and external validation. Another powerful principle: confidence grows when you survive rejection without collapsing emotionally. Every recovery strengthens resilience. Another important factor is avoiding personalization. Not every rejection is an attack against you personally. Sometimes situations simply do not align. Another useful strategy is continuing movement after disappointment. Do not isolate yourself emotionally for too long. Do not stop pursuing life because one experience hurt you. Continue building, continue learning, continue growing. Another critical insight: the fear of rejection often hurts more in imagination than reality. Many people suffer mentally over possibilities that never happen. Action weakens fear. Another important principle: you must stop giving rejection permanent authority over temporary situations. One rejection does not predict your future. Another powerful truth: some of the best opportunities in life appear only after painful rejection redirected your path. Another important factor is emotional maturity. Not everyone will recognize your value immediately. That does not mean your value disappeared. Another useful strategy is strengthening self-respect internally. When you know your discipline, your character, your effort, your integrity, your growth, rejection loses some emotional power. Another critical insight: people who fear rejection too much often reject themselves first by never trying fully. Do not do that to yourself. Another important principle: you deserve opportunities. You deserve growth. You deserve another attempt. Do not let rejection convince you otherwise. Another powerful truth: every rejection survived makes you emotionally stronger for future opportunities. Another important factor is patience. Some things take time. The right opportunities, the right environments, the right relationships, the right breakthroughs. Do not quit too early. Another useful strategy is focusing on alignment instead of desperation. Not every opportunity belongs in your future. Some rejection creates protection. Another critical insight: the people who succeed most are often not the people who avoided rejection. They are the people who continue despite it. Another important principle: rejection only becomes permanent defeat if you stop believing in your ability to continue. Another powerful truth: your value existed before rejection, and it still exists after it. Ultimately, rejection cannot destroy a future that refuses to stop growing. So as you move forward, stop allowing rejection to define your identity. Stop measuring your worth by temporary responses from people or situations. Stop shrinking your life because of fear. Feel the disappointment honestly, but continue anyway. Apply again, build again, trust yourself again, and keep moving toward the future that still remains possible. Because when rejection stops controlling your self-worth, confidence rebuilds, resilience strengthens, courage grows, and your comeback becomes stronger than the pain that once tried to stop you. That is where freedom begins. The moment you realize, a closed door does not mean my life is over. Chapter 10. Stop comparing your recovery to other people's journey. One of the fastest ways to destroy hope after failure is comparison. Looking at other people's progress, other people's success, other people's recovery, and thinking, why am I not there yet? Why is my life still difficult? Why does everyone else seem ahead of me? Comparison becomes dangerous during rebuilding seasons because pain already weakens confidence, and comparison weakens it even more. This is the key principle. Your recovery is your journey, not a race against someone else's timeline. Now understand this clearly. People heal differently, grow differently, recover differently. Some rebuild quickly, some rebuild slowly, some recover publicly, some recover quietly in private. None of these paths make a person more valuable than another. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop measuring their progress only against other people's visible success. And because of that, they protect their focus and emotional stability. Another important truth: you rarely see the full story behind someone else's life. You see highlights, results, visible success, but you often do not see the struggles, the sacrifices, the failures, the pain, the rebuilding process, the emotional battles. Comparison is dangerous because it compares your private pain to someone else's public appearance. Another critical insight: comparison creates discouragement when your focus leaves your own growth. Instead of rebuilding, people begin obsessing over what others achieved, how fast others recovered, what others own, where others are in life, and slowly, their energy shifts away from personal progress. Another important principle: your only real responsibility is becoming stronger than your previous self, not becoming someone else. Breaking the comparison habit requires awareness. You must notice when comparison begins creating discouragement, jealousy, hopelessness, self-hatred, impatience, the feeling of being behind in life. Awareness protects mindset. A practical strategy is simple: measure progress against your past, not against another person's timeline. Ask, am I growing? Am I rebuilding? Am I stronger than before? That creates healthier perspective. Another effective strategy is limiting exposure to unhealthy comparison environments. Constant scrolling, constant competition, constant visibility into other people's lives. These things can distort reality emotionally. Protect your mind carefully. There is also value in appreciating your own progress honestly. Do not ignore growth simply because it looks smaller than someone else's. Your progress still matters. Now go deeper. Comparison often grows from insecurity, the fear that you are falling behind, you are not successful enough, you are not valuable enough, you are running out of time. But life is not one universal timeline. Different people experience different struggles, different opportunities, different seasons, different growth paths. Respect your process. Another critical insight: healing under pressure still counts as progress. Some people are rebuilding while carrying emotional pain nobody else fully understands. That strength matters. Another important truth. Being slower does not mean being defeated. Growth still happening slowly is still growth. Another powerful principle. Comparison steals gratitude. Instead of appreciating how far you have come, you become obsessed with where someone else currently stands. That mindset destroys peace. Another important factor is protecting self-worth. Your value is not determined by someone else's success, someone else's timeline, someone else's opportunities, someone else's recovery speed. Your journey is your own. Another useful strategy is focusing deeply on your daily actions. Control your habits, your mindset, your discipline, your healing, your consistency, your growth. That creates real progress. Another critical insight. Some people appear successful externally while struggling deeply internally. Do not assume visible success means emotional peace. Another important principle. Comparison weakens confidence because it constantly tells you you are not enough yet. Fight that mindset intentionally. Another powerful truth. Your comeback does not need to look like anyone else's to still be meaningful. Another important factor is patience with yourself. Some rebuilding seasons take longer because deeper healing is happening internally. That is okay. Another useful strategy is celebrating small victories consistently. Every step matters. Getting back up, trying again, staying disciplined, continuing despite pain, healing emotionally, protecting hope. Small victories become major transformation over time. Another critical insight. The people who recover strongest are often the people who stop competing emotionally with everyone else and focus fully on their own growth. Another important principle. You are not behind in life because your journey looks different. Another powerful truth. Your future can still become extraordinary even if your recovery is slower than expected. Ultimately, comparison only becomes destructive when it steals your focus on the life you still have the power to rebuild. So as you move forward, stop measuring your healing against someone else's timeline. Stop believing you are failing because your progress looks different. Stop allowing comparison to weaken your hope. Focus on your path. Focus on your recovery. Focus on your growth. And continue rebuilding your life at the pace necessary for real transformation. Because when comparison loses power, peace returns, confidence stabilizes, focus sharpens, and your comeback becomes stronger, healthier, and more authentic. That is where real healing begins. The moment you decide, my journey does not need to look like anyone else's to still become meaningful. Chapter 11. Stop waiting for life to become easy. Many people delay their comeback because they are waiting for easier conditions. Less stress, less fear, less pressure, less uncertainty. They think, I'll restart when life feels better. I'll move forward when everything becomes stable. I'll try again when I feel stronger. But life rarely becomes completely easy before growth begins. This is the key principle. Strength is built by moving through difficulty, not by waiting for difficulty to disappear. Now understand this clearly. There will always be challenges, always uncertainty, always discomfort, always moments where you feel emotionally tired. If you wait for perfect conditions before rebuilding, you may wait forever. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop expecting life to remove every obstacle before they continue. Instead, they learn how to grow while conditions are imperfect. And because of that, their resilience becomes stronger than their circumstances. Another important truth. Difficulty is not proof that you are on the wrong path. Sometimes difficulty is proof that growth is happening. Every meaningful comeback requires patience, endurance, discipline under pressure, the willingness to continue despite discomfort. This is part of rebuilding. Another critical insight. Comfort does not create resilience. Pressure does. Some of the strongest people develop their mindset during seasons that demanded growth emotionally. Another important principle. You must stop treating discomfort like danger. Feeling uncertain, afraid, tired, overwhelmed, emotionally challenged does not mean you are incapable of continuing. It means you are human. Breaking the habit of waiting requires action during imperfect moments, not after them. A practical strategy is simple. Ask yourself, what can I still do today despite the difficulty? That question restores movement. Another effective strategy is lowering emotional expectations temporarily. Do not expect every rebuilding season to feel inspiring. Some days, progress simply means refusing to quit. That still matters. There's also value in accepting that growth often feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. The early stages of rebuilding are rarely glamorous, but they are powerful. Now go deeper. Waiting for perfect emotional readiness creates stagnation. Many people believe, one day I'll suddenly feel fully prepared. But confidence often appears after movement begins, not before. Another critical insight: your mind adapts to challenge through exposure. The more often you continue despite discomfort, the stronger your emotional endurance becomes. Another important truth: life becomes heavier when avoidance becomes a habit. Problems delayed often grow larger emotionally. Action reduces emotional pressure gradually. Another powerful principle: you do not need ideal conditions to make progress. You need willingness. Willingness to continue imperfectly if necessary. Another important factor is perspective. This difficult season is not your entire life. It is one chapter, one period, one temporary stretch of the journey. Do not confuse current struggle with permanent reality. Another useful strategy is focusing on daily controllables. You may not control the past, the economy, other people, unexpected setbacks, but you can control your effort, your mindset, your discipline, your recovery habits, your response to pressure. That is where your power exists. Another critical insight: some people remain stuck for years because they are emotionally negotiating with discomfort constantly. Stop waiting to feel comfortable before taking responsibility for your future. Another important principle: resilient people build momentum in difficult seasons, not only easy ones. Another powerful truth: your comeback gains strength every time you continue despite resistance. Another important factor is emotional flexibility. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel exhausted. Continue adjusting, but continue moving. Another useful strategy is shortening recovery after difficult moments. Do not allow one painful day to become months of emotional surrender. Reset quickly. Continue quickly. Another critical insight: most growth happens during seasons people initially wish to escape. Pressure develops capacity. Another important principle: you must stop believing life will suddenly become free of challenge before success becomes possible. Strength is developed inside challenge. Another powerful truth: the people who rebuild successfully are usually the people who stopped waiting for life to feel easy and started moving anyway. Another important factor is self-belief during discomfort. Even if progress feels slow, keep trusting the rebuilding process. Another useful strategy is creating stability through routine. During difficult seasons, wake up intentionally. Protect your focus. Move your body. Complete meaningful tasks. Limit destructive distractions. Structure strengthens resilience. Another critical insight: you become emotionally stronger every time you continue through difficulty instead of surrendering to it. Another important principle: hard seasons do not last forever, but the strength built inside them can last a lifetime. Another powerful truth: your future can still improve even while life feels difficult right now. Ultimately, growth begins when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start rebuilding with the conditions you already have. So, as you move forward, stop waiting for life to become easier before you move again. Stop believing discomfort means you should quit. Stop delaying your comeback because conditions feel imperfect. Move anyway, grow anyway, rebuild anyway, and continue becoming stronger through the very challenges trying to stop you. Because when you stop waiting for comfort, your resilience deepens, your discipline strengthens, your confidence rebuilds, and your comeback becomes real through action, not perfect conditions. That is where true transformation begins. The moment you decide, my progress will not wait for life to become easy. Chapter 12. Your comeback begins the moment you take responsibility again. After failure, Many people lose their sense of control. They blame the past, other people, bad luck, the economy, their environment, life circumstances. And while some of those things may have truly affected them, remaining trapped in blame keeps recovery weak. This is the key principle. Your comeback begins when you stop focusing only on what happened to you and start focusing on what you will do next. Now understand this clearly. Responsibility is not about pretending pain did not happen. It is not about denying unfairness. It is not about blaming yourself for everything. Responsibility means I cannot control everything that happened, but I can control how I respond now. That mindset creates power again. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop waiting for someone else to rescue their future. And because of that, they begin rebuilding faster. Another important truth. Blame may feel emotionally satisfying temporarily, but it weakens action. Why? Because blame convinces people, I have no control. And when people feel powerless, they stop trying. Another critical insight. The moment you take responsibility again, your mindset changes. You stop asking, why is my life ruined? And begin asking, what can I improve from here? That shift creates momentum. Another important principle. Responsibility restores self-respect. Every time you take ownership, correct mistakes, face reality honestly, continue despite difficulty, you strengthen your identity internally. Breaking free from helplessness requires action, not excuses, not endless emotional replay. Action, a practical strategy, is simple. Focus on controllable areas first. You may not control the past, other people's decisions, unexpected setbacks, certain life circumstances, but you can control your habits, your attitude, your discipline, your recovery, your next decision, your willingness to continue. That is where rebuilding starts. Another effective strategy is radical honesty. Ask yourself, what behaviors must change if my future is going to improve? That question creates growth. There is also value in accepting imperfection. Taking responsibility does not mean becoming perfect instantly. It means becoming intentional again. Now go deeper. Many people fear responsibility because responsibility removes excuses. Excuses protect comfort. Responsibility creates pressure to act. But responsibility also creates freedom. Another critical insight. Your future improves the moment your focus shifts from blame to rebuilding. Energy follows focus. Another important truth. Some setbacks reveal habits that needed correction long before failure happened. Weak discipline, avoidance, poor boundaries, lack of focus. Ignoring those lessons guarantees repeated struggle. Another powerful principle. Ownership creates confidence. Why? Because every responsible action proves I can influence my future again. That belief matters psychologically. Another important factor is emotional maturity. Mature people stop expecting life to always feel fair before they continue growing. They adapt, adjust, move forward anyway. Another useful strategy is rebuilding structure immediately after setbacks. Responsibility becomes easier when your life has routines, healthy habits, clear priorities, daily discipline, focused action. Structure strengthens recovery. Another critical insight. People who constantly blame everything around them often remain emotionally stuck for years. Not because healing is impossible, but because ownership never fully begins. Another important principle. Responsibility is empowering when understood correctly. It means your future is still influenceable, still rebuildable, still capable of change. Another powerful truth. You cannot always control your starting point after failure, but you can control your direction moving forward. Another important factor is self-forgiveness during responsibility. Do not confuse ownership with self-hatred. You can acknowledge mistakes honestly without destroying your identity emotionally. Another useful strategy is daily accountability. At the end of each day, ask, did I move closer to recovery today? That question creates awareness and momentum. Another critical insight. Comebacks are built by people who stop waiting for perfect circumstances and start rebuilding with what they currently have. Another important principle: responsibility creates movement, blame creates stagnation. Choose carefully. Another powerful truth: your life can improve dramatically once you fully commit to rebuilding instead of reliving what happened. Another important factor is protecting your mindset from victimhood. Pain is real, but remaining emotionally trapped in helplessness destroys progress. Another useful strategy is taking small ownership daily. Complete tasks, keep promises, improve habits, protect routines. These small actions rebuild confidence gradually. Another critical insight: the strongest recoveries often begin quietly, with one honest decision: I will take my life seriously again. Another important principle: nobody can rebuild your future for you. Support helps, guidance helps, but personal responsibility changes everything. Another powerful truth: the moment you fully accept responsibility for your recovery, your comeback truly begins. Ultimately, your future changes when you stop waiting for rescue and start rebuilding intentionally. So as you move forward, stop giving your past complete authority over your future. Stop remaining emotionally trapped in blame. Stop waiting for someone else to fix your life. Take ownership. Rebuild intentionally. Strengthen your habits. Correct what must change. And continue moving forward one disciplined step at a time. Because when responsibility returns, hope strengthens, confidence rebuilds, momentum grows, and your comeback becomes more powerful than the failure that once tried to stop you. That is where transformation accelerates. The moment you decide, my future is still my responsibility. Chapter 13. Stop letting shame keep you hidden. After failure, many people disappear emotionally. They stop showing up, stop speaking confidently, stop trying again, stop believing they still belong in the future they once imagined. Why? Because shame convinces them. You failed, so now you should hide. This is one of the most dangerous emotional effects of failure. This is the key principle. Shame keeps people trapped in the past long after failure is over. Now understand this clearly. There's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am the mistake. That distinction changes everything. Guilt can lead to growth. Shame often leads to hiding, isolation, self-rejection, and emotional paralysis. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They allow mistakes to teach them, but they refuse to let mistakes destroy their identity. And because of that, they recover faster emotionally. Another important truth: shame grows stronger in silence. The more you hide emotionally, the heavier shame becomes internally. People begin believing, I ruined everything. I embarrass myself. I can never recover. People will always judge me. And slowly, they disconnect from life itself. Another critical insight: most people are far more focused on their own lives and your mistakes. But shame exaggerates judgment emotionally. It convinces people the entire world is watching their failure constantly. Usually, that is not reality. Another important principle: you cannot rebuild while constantly attacking yourself internally. Self-hatred weakens recovery. Self-awareness strengthens it. Breaking free from shame requires honesty and self-compassion together. You must acknowledge what happened, what needs growth, what lessons matter, without turning pain into permanent self-condemnation. A practical strategy is simple. Stop speaking to yourself like your life is permanently ruined. Replace I'm worthless with I'm rebuilding after a difficult season. Language shapes emotional recovery. Another effective strategy is reconnecting with life gradually. Shame often creates isolation. Fight that intentionally. Continue learning, working, growing, showing up, taking opportunities, building relationships. Movement weakens shame. There is also value in remembering that failure is part of the human experience. You are not uniquely broken because life became difficult. Now go deeper. Shame often becomes identity when people attach their worth to performance. They believe, if I succeed, I matter. If I fail, I lose value. That mindset creates emotional instability. Your worth must become deeper than temporary outcomes. Another critical insight. Some people never recover fully because they are more focused on hiding their wounds than healing them. Healing requires honesty. Another important truth. You are allowed to begin again after embarrassment, after rejection, after mistakes, after painful seasons. Your life did not lose all possibility because something went wrong. Another powerful principle. Vulnerability creates healing, not pretending perfection. The strongest people are often people willing to admit, yes, I struggled. Yes, I failed, but I am rebuilding. That honesty creates freedom. Another important factor is releasing the need to appear perfect. Perfection is impossible. Growth is realistic. Choose growth. Another useful strategy is separating public opinion from personal identity. Even if some people judge you, their judgment does not define your future. Do not hand strangers permanent authority over your self-worth. Another critical insight. Many powerful comeback stories began after moments people once felt ashamed of. Painful chapters can become sources of wisdom later. Another important principle. Your mistakes deserve correction, not lifelong self-punishment. Another powerful truth. People who survive failure often develop deeper compassion, emotional strength, and wisdom than before. Struggle changes perspective. Another important factor is rebuilding confidence through action. Shame weakens through movement. Every time you show up again, try again, speak again, build again, continue growing, you weaken shame's control. Another useful strategy is protecting your inner dialogue. Stop repeating, I'm ruined, I'm a disappointment, I'll never recover. Those thoughts destroy hope. Speak with honesty, but also with grace. Another critical insight. The people who rise strongest after failure are often the people who stop hiding from life after painful seasons. Another important principle. You deserve healing even after mistakes. You deserve growth even after setbacks. You deserve another chance at life. Never forget that. Another powerful truth. Shame only keeps power when you continue believing your worst moment defines your entire identity. Another important factor is patience. Healing shame takes time. Allow yourself to recover gradually. Another useful strategy is reconnecting with purpose. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I still want to become despite what happened? That question restores direction. Another critical insight. Your comeback becomes possible again the moment you stop hiding and start rebuilding openly within yourself. Another important principle. Failure may have wounded your confidence, but it does not remove your humanity, value, or future potential. Another powerful truth. You are still worthy of growth, peace, opportunity, and transformation. Ultimately, shame loses power when you stop identifying yourself only by your worst moments. So as you move forward, stop hiding from life because of past mistakes. Stop speaking to yourself like failure. Erase your worth. Stop allowing shame to silence your future. Learn honestly, heal deeply, forgive yourself gradually, and continue rebuilding your life with courage and self-respect. Because when shame loses control, hope returns, confidence rebuilds, freedom grows, and your comeback becomes stronger than the pain that once made you want to disappear. That is where healing truly begins. The moment you decide, my mistakes will not become my permanent identity. Chapter 14. Stop replaying the fall. Focus on the rise. Many people stay emotionally trapped inside the moment they failed. They replay what went wrong, what they lost, what embarrassed them, what they should have done differently. Again and again and again, the failure ends. But mentally, they keep reliving it every day. This is exhausting and dangerous because you cannot fully rebuild while constantly staring backward. This is the key principle. Your recovery strengthens when your focus shifts from the fall to the rise. Now understand this clearly. Reflection is healthy. Learning from mistakes is necessary. But endless replaying is different. Replay without growth becomes emotional imprisonment. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They learn from failure, but they do not build permanent homes inside painful memories. And because of that, they move forward faster emotionally. Another important truth. Your mind moves toward what you repeatedly focus on. If you constantly replay embarrassment, regret, loss, disappointment, pain, your emotional state remains connected to defeat. This weakens confidence and momentum. Another critical insight: the brain naturally focuses on negative experiences strongly. It tries to protect you from future pain, but without awareness, this survival mechanism can trap you in fear and hopelessness. Another important principle: healing requires redirecting mental focus intentionally, not pretending pain never happened, but refusing to let pain dominate every thought. Breaking the habit of emotional replay requires awareness. You must notice when reflection stops being productive and starts becoming self-punishment. A practical strategy is simple. Ask yourself, am I learning from this or only suffering from it repeatedly? That question creates clarity. Another effective strategy is limiting mental repetition. You already know what happened. You already felt the pain. Now begin focusing on what can improve, what can rebuild, what still remains possible. That creates movement. There is also value in redirecting energy into action. Action interrupts destructive mental cycles. Movement weakens emotional paralysis. Now go deeper. People often replay failure because they are searching for control emotionally. They think, if I analyze this enough, maybe I can undo the pain. But the past cannot be relived into healing. Healing comes through acceptance and forward movement. Another critical insight: constant replay strengthens emotional wounds. Every repeated mental replay reactivates pain internally. This is why focus matters so much during recovery. Another important truth: you deserve a future bigger than your worst memory. Do not allow one painful chapter to dominate your entire identity. Another powerful principle: your attention is powerful. Where focus goes, emotional energy follows. Protect your focus carefully. Another important factor is forgiveness. Sometimes you must stop mentally punishing yourself repeatedly for mistakes already made. Learn, correct, grow, then continue forward. Another useful strategy is replacing mental replay with constructive rebuilding. Instead of endlessly replaying failure, rejection, regret, begin focusing on new habits, new goals, new routines, new growth, new opportunities. That shifts emotional direction. Another critical insight: the people who recover strongest are often the people who stop worshiping their pain emotionally. Pain matters, but growth must matter too. Another important principle: you cannot rewrite yesterday, but you can influence tomorrow. That is where your power exists now. Another powerful truth: many people remain emotionally broken not because the setback was too powerful, but because they never stopped mentally reliving it. Another important factor is emotional discipline. Thoughts will return sometimes. Painful memories will appear sometimes. Do not feed them endlessly. Redirect your attention intentionally. Another useful strategy is gratitude during recovery. Even during difficult seasons, there are still things worth appreciating: life, learning, survival, growth, the chance to rebuild. Gratitude softens emotional heaviness. Another critical insight: your comeback requires mental space. Constant emotional replay consumes energy needed for rebuilding. Another important principle: the goal is not forgetting the lesson. The goal is refusing to stay emotionally trapped inside the moment forever. Another powerful truth: some people rise powerfully because they finally stopped staring at what broke them and started focusing on what they could still become. Another important factor is future vision. A strong future focus weakens the emotional grip of past pain gradually. Another useful strategy is daily intentional focus. Each morning ask, what deserves my energy today? That question creates direction. Another critical insight: the mind heals faster when purpose becomes stronger than regret. Another important principle: your future deserves more attention than your failures. Another powerful truth: you are not meant to spend the rest of your life emotionally reliving one painful season. Ultimately, recovery accelerates when your focus shifts from the fall to the rise you are now building. So as you move forward, Stop replaying the worst moments of your life endlessly. Stop allowing regret to consume your emotional energy. Stop staring backwards so long that you forget your future still exists. Learn from the fall, but focus on the rise. Focus on the rebuilding. Focus on the growth. And continue becoming stronger through the lessons pain has already taught you. Because when your attention shifts toward recovery, hope strengthens, momentum returns, vision expands, and your comeback finally begins moving forward instead of remaining trapped in the past. That is where healing becomes powerful. The moment you decide, I will stop reliving the fall and start building the rise. Chapter 15. Failure tests who you really are. Success can hide weakness. Comfort can hide insecurity. Easy seasons can hide lack of discipline. But failure reveals things clearly. It reveals character, emotional strength, maturity, patience, endurance, the truth about who you become under pressure. This is why difficult seasons change people so deeply. This is the key principle. Failure does not only test your plans, it tests your identity. Now understand this clearly. Anyone can feel confident when life is working smoothly. Anyone can feel motivated when results are coming quickly. But who are you when things collapse, plans fail, people leave, progress disappears, life becomes uncertain? That is where true character appears. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They know difficult seasons reveal what still needs growth internally. And because they face those truths honestly, they become stronger instead of remaining fragile. Another important truth: pressure exposes habits. When life becomes difficult, people usually return to their deepest patterns. Some respond with avoidance, excuses, anger, self-destruction, quitting. Others respond with reflection, responsibility, discipline, patience, rebuilding. Failure reveals which mindset is stronger inside you. Another critical insight: your response during difficult seasons matters more than your emotions during easy seasons. Character is not proven through comfort. It is proven through pressure. Another important principle: failure often removes distractions and forces honesty. It asks, what truly matters to you? What kind of person are you becoming? Will you continue when things feel painful? Can your discipline survive discomfort? These questions create transformation. Breaking emotional weakness requires self-awareness. You must stop avoiding honest evaluation during hard seasons. A practical strategy is simple. Ask yourself, what is this situation revealing about me? Not, why is life attacking me? That question creates growth. Another effective strategy is emotional responsibility. You cannot control every setback, but you can control your response, your discipline, your attitude, your rebuilding process, your willingness to continue. That is where strength develops. There is also value in accepting uncomfortable truth. Some failures reveal weak habits, emotional immaturity, poor focus, lack of preparation, harmful environments. Do not fear those revelations. Use them for growth. Now go deeper. Failure strips away illusions. It forces people to see themselves honestly. And although painful, honest self-awareness creates powerful rebuilding. Another critical insight: some people only discover their resilience after life removes everything they depended on emotionally. Difficulty reveals hidden strength. Another important truth: you do not truly know your endurance until continuing becomes difficult. This is why painful seasons can become transformational. Another powerful principle: the strongest identities are built through survival, rebuilding, and perseverance, not comfort alone. Another important factor is emotional control. Failure creates emotional pressure: fear, shame, frustration, disappointment. You must learn how to feel emotions honestly without allowing emotions to control your future permanently. Another useful strategy is staying consistent during difficult periods. Even small discipline actions matter. Getting up, completing tasks, protecting routines, moving forward daily, continuing to grow. These actions strengthen character quietly. Another critical insight: many people believe failure destroyed them, when actually it revealed areas that needed strengthening. Another important principle: pressure can either expose weakness and leave you defeated, or expose weakness and help you rebuild stronger. The choice depends on your response. Another powerful truth: character developed through hardship often becomes more stable than confidence built only through success. Another important factor is refusing to become bitter. Pain can harden people negatively if healing never happens. Protect your heart carefully during rebuilding seasons. Another useful strategy is focusing on internal growth more than external appearance. Ask, who am I becoming through this experience? That question creates deeper transformation. Another critical insight: failure often tests whether your identity is built on temporary success or deeper internal strength. Another important principle: you are more than your achievements, more than your mistakes, more than one difficult season. Never forget that. Another powerful truth: some of the strongest people became powerful because life forced them to develop emotional endurance they never would have chosen voluntarily. Another important factor is patience during growth. Character development takes time. Do not expect instant emotional maturity. Continue improving gradually. Another useful strategy is daily reflection. At the end of difficult days, ask, did I respond with strength today, or only emotion? That question strengthens awareness. Another critical insight: your comeback becomes stronger when failure develops your character instead of destroying your identity. Another powerful truth: the person you become through hardship may eventually become your greatest success. Ultimately, failure tests who you really are because pressure reveals what comfort often hides. So as you move forward, stop seeing difficult seasons only as punishment. Stop running from honest self-evaluation. Stop allowing pain to weaken your character permanently. Learn from pressure. Grow through discomfort. Strengthen your discipline. And continue rebuilding with honesty, courage, and resilience. Because when hardship develops your character, your mindset deepens, your emotional strength increases, your identity becomes stronger, and your comeback becomes built on something far more powerful than temporary success alone. That is where real transformation happens. When failure stops breaking you and starts building the person you were meant to become. Chapter 16. The people who rise again are the people who refuse to stay down. Failure knocks everyone down eventually. No one escapes difficult seasons completely. No one avoids pain forever. No one succeeds without moments where life feels heavy and uncertain. The difference is not who falls. The difference is who gets back up. This is the key principle. Your comeback depends less on how hard you fall and more on your willingness to rise again. Now understand this clearly. Some people fail once and emotionally surrender permanently. Others fail repeatedly, but continue rebuilding anyway. That persistence changes everything. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They know falling is part of life, but staying down is a decision. And because they continue getting back up, their future keeps expanding. Another important truth: strength is not built by avoiding struggle. Strength is built by surviving struggle and continuing despite it. Every time you rise again, your resilience deepens, your mindset strengthens, your confidence rebuilds, your endurance grows. This is how powerful people are developed internally. Another critical insight: most people underestimate the emotional courage required to begin again. Starting over after pain takes strength. Trying again after rejection takes strength. Believing again after disappointment takes strength. That courage matters more than most people realize. Another important principle: you do not need to rise perfectly. You simply need to keep rising. Some days recovery looks strong. Some days it looks slow. Some days survival itself is progress. Continue anyway. Breaking the cycle of defeat requires movement after disappointment, not perfection. Movement. A practical strategy is simple. After every setback, ask, what is my next step forward? Not, why is my life ruined? That question restores direction. Another effective strategy is shortening emotional recovery after setbacks. Do not allow one difficult moment to become months of surrender. Feel the pain honestly, then begin rebuilding again. There is also value in accepting that resilience is built through repetition. The more often you survive difficult moments, the stronger your emotional endurance becomes. Now go deeper. People who rise again develop a different relationship with failure. Failure stops feeling like permanent destruction and starts feeling like a lesson, a challenge, a redirection, a test of persistence, a temporary chapter. This mindset creates freedom. Another critical insight: your comeback often begins before you feel ready emotionally. Many people wait for complete confidence before trying again, but confidence frequently returns after action begins. Move first, belief follows later. Another important truth: every time you rise after pain, you prove to yourself, I am stronger than this moment. That internal proof matters deeply. Another powerful principle: resilient people stop asking, why me? And begin asking, what now? That shift creates progress. Another important factor is refusing to identify with defeat. You experience failure, but failure is not your permanent identity. Never confuse the two. Another useful strategy is rebuilding daily momentum. Focus on healthy routines, focused action, small goals, positive environments, consistent discipline, emotional recovery. These habits strengthen comebacks gradually. Another critical insight: many people stay emotionally broken because they never fully decide to rise again internally. The decision matters. Another important principle: you are allowed to restart again and again and again, as many times as necessary. Another powerful truth: some of the most successful people in life are simply people who refuse to quit after painful seasons. Persistence creates separation. Another important factor is emotional flexibility. Not every day will feel inspiring. Continue anyway. Consistency matters more than emotional intensity. Another useful strategy is remembering previous survival. You have already survived difficult moments before. That means you are capable of surviving this one too. Another critical insight: life changes faster when movement returns. Hopelessness grows in stillness. Momentum grows through action. Another important principle: pain is temporary. Growth can become permanent if you continue rebuilding. Another powerful truth: your future is still alive as long as you continue trying. Another important factor is self-belief during rebuilding. Even if confidence feels weak, protect hope, protect discipline, protect forward movement. Another useful strategy is refusing to let embarrassment stop your recovery. People may judge temporarily. Continue rebuilding anyway. Your future matters more than temporary opinions. Another critical insight: the strongest people are often not the people who never collapsed. They are the people who repeatedly rose after collapse. Another important principle: your comeback becomes powerful the moment persistence becomes stronger than defeat. Another powerful truth: no setback can permanently destroy someone who refuses to stay down emotionally. Ultimately, the people who rise again are the people who decide their future matters more than their pain. So as you move forward, stop believing failure has the final word over your life. Stop allowing temporary defeat to become permanent surrender. Stop waiting for fear and pain to disappear completely before rebuilding. Get back up, move again, try again, believe again, and continue rebuilding your life one disciplined step at a time. Because every time you rise again, your resilience strengthens, your confidence deepens, your identity transforms, and your comeback becomes stronger than the setback that once tried to end your story. That is where true power is built, inside the decision to rise. One more time. Chapter 17. Stop waiting for an apology before you heal. One of the hardest things to accept after pain is this: not everyone who hurt you will apologize. Not everyone will understand the damage they caused. Not everyone will take responsibility. And sometimes, the closure you hope for never comes. This reality keeps many people emotionally trapped for years. They wait for acknowledgement, for justice, for explanation, for someone to finally admit the pain they caused. And while they wait, healing slows down. This is the key principle: your healing cannot depend entirely on someone else's apology. Now understand this clearly. Wanting acknowledgement is human. Wanting honesty is understandable. Wanting closure is natural. But if your peace depends completely on another person changing, you give away emotional control over your future. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop waiting for a perfect closure before rebuilding their lives. And because of that, they recover faster emotionally. Another important truth: some people lack the emotional maturity to admit what they did. Some avoid responsibility. Some protect their ego. Some simply move on without reflection. That reality hurts. But their inability to apologize does not mean your healing must stop too. Another critical insight: waiting endlessly for closure often keeps emotional wounds open. The mind keeps replaying what should have been said, what should have happened differently, what fairness would have looked like. And slowly, the past continues controlling the present. Another important principle: closure is sometimes something you create internally, not something other people give you externally. Breaking emotional dependence on apology requires acceptance, not approval of what happened, acceptance of reality. A practical strategy is simple: stop asking, will they finally understand my pain? And start asking, how do I continue healing regardless? That question restores power. Another effective strategy is emotional detachment from outcomes you cannot control, you cannot force. Awareness, regret, accountability, apologies, emotional maturity in others. But you can control your response. There is also value in grieving honestly. Some pain deserves acknowledgement internally. Allow yourself to feel disappointment without allowing it to destroy your future permanently. Now go deeper. Many people confuse healing with reconciliation. They believe, if I heal, it means what happened was acceptable. No, healing means you refuse to remain emotionally imprisoned by the pain forever. Another critical insight: bitterness often develops when pain stays unresolved emotionally, and bitterness quietly damages peace, focus, relationships, hope, emotional stability. This is why healing matters deeply. Another important truth: forgiveness does not always mean reconnection. Sometimes forgiveness simply means, I refuse to carry this pain forever. That creates freedom. Another powerful principle: your life deserves forward movement, even if closure never arrives the way you hoped. Another important factor is emotional independence. You must stop allowing another person's choices to completely determine your emotional future. That is where rebuilding begins. Another useful strategy is shifting focus toward your own growth. Instead of constantly focusing on what they failed to do, what they never admitted, what they should have said, begin focusing on your healing, your future, your discipline, your peace, your growth. That creates emotional progress. Another critical insight: sometimes silence is the closure. Sometimes distance is the closure. Sometimes survival itself is the closure. Life does not always resolve itself perfectly. Another important principle: you can heal even without complete answers. You can recover even without perfect justice. You can rebuild even without apology. Another powerful truth: the strongest recoveries often happen when people stop waiting for others to change and begin changing their own lives instead. Another important factor is protecting your heart from permanent hardness. Pain can make people emotionally closed forever if healing never begins intentionally. Do not allow that. Another useful strategy is writing your own emotional closure privately. Journal what hurt, what you learned, what you are releasing, what kind of future you still want. This helps the mind process pain constructively. Another critical insight: some people never apologize because they are still avoiding themselves internally. Do not let their lack of healing prevent yours. Another important principle: your peace is too valuable to place entirely in someone else's hands. Another powerful truth: you reclaim power when your healing no longer depends on another person finally becoming who you wish they would be. Another important factor is patience. Emotional release takes time. Allow yourself to heal gradually. Another useful strategy is reconnecting with hope after disappointment. Pain may have changed you, but your future still exists beyond it. Another critical insight: the people who heal strongest are often the people who accepted painful reality without allowing it to destroy their future permanently. Another important principle: You deserve peace even if someone else never fully understands the pain they caused. Another powerful truth. Healing becomes possible the moment you stop waiting for permission to move forward emotionally. Ultimately, your recovery begins accelerating when your peace no longer depends entirely on someone else's apology. So as you move forward, stop placing your future completely inside another person's ability to change. Stop waiting endlessly for a perfect closure before rebuilding your life. Stop allowing unresolved pain to keep you emotionally trapped. Feel the hurt honestly. Learn from it deeply. Release what you cannot control. And continue healing one step at a time. Because when your healing becomes stronger than your need for external closure, peace returns, freedom grows, strength deepens, and your comeback finally moves forward again. That is where emotional freedom begins. The moment you decide, my healing will not wait forever for someone else's apology. Chapter 18. Some people will never understand your pain. Heal anyway. One of the hardest realities after failure and heartbreak is realizing this. Not everyone will understand what you survived. Not everyone will see how deeply you were affected. Not everyone will recognize emotional battles you fought silently. And sometimes, the people who hurt you most may never fully understand the damage they caused. This can feel lonely, frustrating, even unfair. But this is the key principle. Your healing cannot depend on everyone understanding your pain. Now understand this clearly. People only see part of your story. They see behavior, outcomes, visible moments, but they often do not see the sleepless nights, the emotional exhaustion, the internal battles, the silent rebuilding, the fear you survived, the pressure you carried privately. And because they do not fully see it, some people may minimize your pain, misunderstand your struggle, or judge your recovery unfairly. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop expecting universal understanding, and because of that, they stop delaying their healing waiting for validation. Another important truth. Not everyone has the emotional depth to understand suffering they never experienced personally. Some people speak casually about pain because they never carried it deeply themselves. Do not allow that to invalidate your experience. Another critical insight. Seeking understanding from the wrong people can reopen wounds repeatedly. Some people lack empathy, emotional awareness, maturity, the ability to truly listen. This is why emotional boundaries matter during healing. Another important principle. You do not need everyone to understand your pain for your healing to be real. Your experience still matters. Your recovery still matters. Your emotional growth still matters. Breaking the need for universal validation requires internal strength. You must stop measuring the legitimacy of your pain by how others respond to it. A practical strategy is simple. Instead of asking, why don't they understand me? Ask, how do I continue healing even if they never fully do? That question restores focus. Another effective strategy is protecting your emotional energy. Stop repeatedly explaining your deepest wounds to people committed to misunderstanding you. Not every person deserves full emotional access to your healing journey. There is also value in self-validation. Acknowledge your own pain honestly. Do not wait for everyone else to approve your emotions before allowing yourself to heal. Now go deeper. Many people stay emotionally stuck because they are trying to prove their suffering was real. They want recognition, acknowledgement, confirmation that what happened truly hurt them. That desire is understandable. But healing accelerates when you stop making your peace dependent on other people's understanding. Another critical insight. Some people interpret survival as weakness because they only see struggle externally. But surviving emotional pain often requires enormous strength internally. Never underestimate that. Another important truth. You are allowed to protect your healing process privately. Not every battle must be explained publicly. Not every scar requires constant discussion. Some healing happens quietly. Another powerful principle. Inner peace grows when your emotional stability stops depending entirely on external validation. Another important factor is emotional maturity. Part of healing is accepting. Some people will never fully understand my experience. That acceptance creates freedom. Another useful strategy is building connections with emotionally healthy people. Spend time with people who listen honestly, respect your healing, encourage growth, support recovery, create emotional safety. Healthy environments accelerate healing. Another critical insight: trying to force understanding often creates more emotional exhaustion. You cannot force empathy. You cannot force emotional awareness. You cannot force people to see what they refuse to see. Another important principle: your pain deserves healing, even if some people never fully recognize it. Another powerful truth: many strong people healed quietly while the world misunderstood their struggle completely, and they still rebuilt their lives successfully. Another important factor is refusing to become bitter. Misunderstanding can create emotional hardness if left unresolved. Protect your heart carefully. Another useful strategy is focusing on growth instead of explanation. Instead of constantly trying to make everyone understand your pain, focus on becoming stronger through it. That creates transformation. Another critical insight: people often understand your strength only after your recovery becomes visible. Do not wait for recognition before continuing your healing. Another important principle: your emotional journey belongs to you, not public opinion, not social approval, not other people's understanding. Another powerful truth: healing becomes more powerful when you stop needing everyone to agree with your pain before allowing yourself to move forward. Another important factor is self-respect. Respect your healing enough to continue rebuilding even when understanding from others feels limited. Another useful strategy is journaling privately. Write honestly about what hurt, what changed you, what you learned, what you are rebuilding. This creates emotional clarity without depending on external validation. Another critical insight: some people may never understand your pain because they only understand life through their own limited experience. Do not let their limitation become your emotional prison. Another important principle: you can heal fully even without universal understanding. Another powerful truth: the strongest recoveries often happen quietly inside people who stop trying to prove their pain and simply committed to rebuilding their lives. Ultimately, your healing matters even if everyone around you does not fully understand your journey. So as you move forward, stop exhausting yourself trying to make everyone understand your pain. Stop delaying your healing waiting for validation. Stop giving other people complete authority over your emotional recovery. Honor your experience honestly. Protect your peace intentionally. Continue rebuilding quietly if necessary. And allow yourself to heal fully even if some people never completely understand what you survived. Because when your healing becomes stronger than your need to be understood, peace deepens, freedom grows, strength returns, and your comeback becomes rooted in something far more powerful than external validation. That is where emotional maturity begins. The moment you decide, my healing is real, even if everyone does not fully understand my pain. Chapter 19. Do not let bitterness become your personality. Pain changes people. Disappointment changes people. Betrayal changes people. Failure changes people. But one of the greatest dangers after suffering is this: if healing never happens, pain slowly hardens into bitterness. And bitterness quietly changes the way people think, speak, trust, and live. This is the key principle. Pain should teach you, not permanently poison you. Now understand this clearly. Bitterness does not appear all at once. It grows slowly, through unresolved hurt, unhealed disappointment, repeated emotional replay, and eventually, a person who once had hope becomes emotionally closed, angry, and exhausted internally. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They allow pain to teach them wisdom, but they refuse to let pain permanently control their identity. And because of that, they heal without losing themselves completely. Another important truth: bitterness often begins as self-protection. People think, if I stop trusting, if I stop caring, if I stop hoping, then I cannot be hurt again. But emotional numbness is not peace. Isolation is not healing. Emotional hardness is not strength. Another critical insight: bitterness damages the person carrying it more than the people who caused the pain originally. It slowly affects peace, relationships, mindset, focus, health, hope, the ability to enjoy life again. This is why healing matters so deeply. Another important principle: you can become wiser after pain without becoming emotionally cold. That balance matters. Breaking free from bitterness requires emotional honesty. You must acknowledge what hurt you, what disappointed you, what changed you emotionally, what still needs healing internally. Ignoring wounds does not heal them. A practical strategy is simple. Pay attention to how pain is shaping your mindset. Ask yourself, is this experience making me wiser or only making me harder emotionally? That question creates awareness. Another effective strategy is releasing the need for revenge emotionally. Bitterness often grows because people remain mentally attached to fairness, justice, what should have happened, what people owe them emotionally. But carrying that emotional weight for years destroys peace. There is also value in allowing yourself to feel sadness without turning sadness into permanent identity. Pain is human. Bitterness is prolonged, unresolved pain. Now go deeper. Some people become bitter because they expected life to always feel fair. But life includes loss, disappointment, rejection, failure, unexpected pain. Accepting reality creates emotional maturity. Another critical insight: bitterness narrows perspective. It convinces people no one can be trusted. Nothing good lasts. Life will always disappoint me. These beliefs slowly damage hope. Another important truth: protecting your heart does not mean shutting down emotionally forever. Healthy boundaries matter, but permanent emotional walls create loneliness internally. Another powerful principle: healing allows strength and softness to exist together. You can become wiser, more discerning, more emotionally aware, without becoming permanently hardened. Another important factor is forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase pain. It releases emotional chains. Sometimes forgiveness simply means, I refuse to carry this bitterness forever. That creates freedom. Another useful strategy is rebuilding positive emotional experiences intentionally. Pain should not become the only thing your mind rehearses. Create space for growth, connection, learning, peace, new memories, new purpose. That helps restore emotional balance. Another critical insight: many people unknowingly build their identity around suffering. They become attached to pain emotionally because pain became familiar. Healing requires becoming willing to live beyond the hurt. Another important principle: do not let painful experiences convince you that negativity is wisdom. Cynicism is not emotional intelligence. Another powerful truth: the strongest people are often the people who survive difficult seasons without losing their ability to love, hope, and grow. Another important factor is protecting your inner dialogue. Bitterness grows through repeated thoughts like, people always disappoint me. Nothing good ever lasts. Life is pointless. Challenge those thoughts intentionally. Another useful strategy is gratitude during healing. Even after pain, life still contains lessons, opportunities, growth, peace, the possibility of joy again. Gratitude weakens bitterness gradually. Another critical insight: your future relationships, peace, and growth should not be destroyed by unresolved pain from the past. Another important principle: you deserve healing that allows you to remain emotionally alive, not emotionally hardened forever. Another powerful truth: pain can deepen your wisdom without stealing your humanity. Another important factor is emotional responsibility. Healing bitterness requires intentional work. Time alone does not automatically heal unresolved pain. Another useful strategy is reconnecting with purpose. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become after this pain? That question restores direction. Another critical insight: some people survive hardship physically, but bitterness keeps them emotionally trapped for years. Do not allow that to happen to you. Another important principle: your pain deserves healing, not permanent emotional imprisonment. Another powerful truth: real strength is not becoming emotionally cold. Real strength is remaining hopeful, disciplined, and compassionate after life tested you deeply. Ultimately, healing becomes complete when pain stops controlling your personality permanently. So as you move forward, stop feeding bitterness daily through unresolved pain. Stop allowing disappointment to harden your identity. Stop confusing emotional numbness with strength. Heal honestly, forgive gradually, protect your peace wisely, and continue rebuilding your life without allowing pain to poison the person you are becoming. Because when bitterness loses control, peace returns, hope grows again, relationships heal healthier, and your comeback becomes rooted in wisdom instead of unresolved pain. That is where true emotional freedom begins. The moment you decide, my pain will teach me, but it will not turn me into bitterness. Chapter 20. You must learn to trust yourself again. After failure, disappointment, or betrayal, one of the hardest things to rebuild is trust in yourself. Not trust in other people. Trust in yourself. Your decisions, your judgment, your ability to recover, your ability to choose wisely again. Many people lose this quietly after painful seasons. They begin doubting everything. Their instincts, their strength, their future, their worth, their ability to rebuild. And little by little, self-doubt becomes stronger than self-belief. This is the key principle. Your comeback becomes powerful when you begin rebuilding trust in yourself again. Now understand this clearly. Failure can damage self-trust deeply, especially when you made mistakes, you ignored warning signs, you trusted the wrong people, you lost something important. Things did not go the way you expected. After pain, people often think, what if I fail again? What if I make another bad decision? What if I cannot trust myself anymore? These thoughts create hesitation, fear, emotional instability. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They know rebuilding life also means rebuilding internal trust. And because of that, they begin strengthening confidence through consistent action again. Another important truth. Self-trust is not rebuilt through words alone. It is rebuilt through evidence, through keeping promises to yourself, showing up consistently, making healthier decisions, protecting your peace, learning from mistakes, following through despite discomfort. Every disciplined action sends a message. I can rely on myself again. Another critical insight. Many people wait to feel confident before acting, but confidence often returns after repeated responsible behavior. Action rebuilds identity. Another important principle. You must stop treating yourself like someone permanently broken. You made mistakes. You experienced pain. You struggled, but you're still capable of growth, wisdom, and rebuilding. Breaking the cycle of self-doubt requires intentional rebuilding, not perfection. Consistency. A practical strategy is simple. Start keeping small promises to yourself again. Wake up when you said you would. Complete simple goals. Protect healthy habits. Follow through daily. Small integrity rebuilds internal trust. Another effective strategy is learning from failure without becoming emotionally paralyzed by it. Mistakes should create wisdom, not permanent fear of living. There is also value in forgiving yourself for being human. No one moves through life perfectly. Growth always includes lessons. Now go deeper. Self-trust affects every part of life. When people stop trusting themselves, they begin overthinking constantly, seeking endless validation, fearing decisions, avoiding opportunities, doubting their future repeatedly. This creates emotional exhaustion. Another critical insight. You strengthen self-trust every time you survive something difficult and continue moving forward. Survival itself is evidence of resilience. Another important truth. Your past mistakes can increase wisdom if you learn from them properly. Painful experiences can sharpen discernment. Another powerful principle. Trust yourself not because you are perfect, but because you are learning, adapting, and growing stronger. That mindset creates emotional stability. Another important factor is rebuilding decision-making confidence slowly. Do not pressure yourself to solve your entire future immediately. Practice making healthy decisions daily. Confidence grows gradually. Another useful strategy is protecting your mind from constant self-criticism. If your inner voice constantly says, you always fail, you ruin everything, you can't trust yourself, your confidence weakens emotionally. Challenge those thoughts intentionally. Another critical insight. People who trust themselves recover faster because they believe, I can handle life again. That belief creates courage. Another important principle: you cannot build a strong future while constantly treating yourself like your own enemy internally. Another powerful truth: healing includes rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Another important factor is emotional patience. Self-trust damaged over years may take time to rebuild fully. Allow the process to happen gradually. Another useful strategy is reflecting on previous resilience. Remember, you survived difficult moments before. You adapted before. You learned before. You recovered before. That evidence matters. Another critical insight: the strongest confidence is not built through never failing. It is built through knowing, even if life becomes difficult again, I trust myself to keep going. Another important principle: your future decisions improve when wisdom grows from past pain instead of fear. Another powerful truth: you deserve another chance to believe in yourself. Another important factor is surrounding yourself with environments that reinforce growth instead of shame. Healthy environments strengthen rebuilding. Another useful strategy is focusing on progress instead of perfection. You do not need flawless recovery. You need consistent recovery. Another critical insight: many people stay emotionally stuck because they never fully rebuild self-trust after painful experiences. Do not allow that to happen to you. Another important principle: the relationship you build with yourself determines how powerfully you recover. Another powerful truth: you become stronger every time you prove to yourself, I can still rise after difficulty. Ultimately, your comeback accelerates when you stop doubting your ability to rebuild your life. So as you move forward, stop treating yourself like someone permanently damaged. Stop allowing past mistakes to destroy present confidence. Stop doubting every step because life became painful before. Rebuild trust slowly. Keep promises to yourself. Strengthen your discipline. Learn from experience. And continue becoming someone you can rely on again. Because when self-trust returns, confidence stabilizes, fear weakens, resilience deepens, and your comeback becomes rooted in something powerful. The belief that no matter what happens, you can trust yourself to rise again. Chapter 21. Your pain can become purpose. Some people go through painful seasons and never recover fully. Others go through pain and somehow emerge wiser, stronger, and more intentional than before. What creates the difference? Purpose. This is a key principle. Pain becomes transformative when it begins creating meaning instead of only suffering. Now understand this clearly. Pain without growth feels empty. Failure without reflection feels destructive. Suffering without purpose feels unbearable. But when painful experiences begin teaching you wisdom, strength, compassion, discipline, emotional maturity, resilience, then suffering begins transforming into something deeper. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop asking only, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What can this experience build inside me?" That question changes recovery completely. Another important truth: some of the most powerful people were shaped through painful experiences they never would have chosen voluntarily. Pain taught them patience, endurance, self-awareness, boundaries, strength under pressure, and eventually, those lessons changed the direction of their lives. Another critical insight: your pain may eventually help other people heal too. The wisdom you gain through struggle can become guidance, encouragement, and hope for someone else one day. This is how pain develops purpose. Another important principle: you must stop believing painful experiences automatically ruin your future. Some pain redirects people toward healthier environments, stronger habits, better decisions, deeper self-awareness, more meaningful lives. Not every painful ending destroyed you. Some awakened you. Another important truth: your past mistakes can increase wisdom if you learn from them properly. Painful experiences can sharpen discernment. Another powerful principle: trust yourself not because you are perfect, but because you are learning, adapting, and growing stronger. That mindset creates emotional stability. Another important factor is rebuilding decision-making confidence slowly. Do not pressure yourself to solve your entire future immediately. Practice making healthy decisions daily. Confidence grows gradually. Another useful strategy is protecting your mind from constant self criticism. If your inner voice constantly says, "You always fail," "You ruin everything," "You can't trust yourself," your confidence weakens emotionally. Challenge those thoughts intentionally. Another critical insight: people who trust themselves recover faster because they believe, "I can handle life again." That belief creates courage. Another important principle: you cannot build a strong future while constantly treating yourself like your own enemy internally. Another powerful truth: healing includes rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Another important factor is emotional patience. Self trust damaged over years may take time to rebuild fully. Allow the process to happen gradually. Another useful strategy is reflecting on previous resilience. Remember, you survived difficult moments before. You adapted before. You learned before. You recovered before. That evidence matters. Another critical insight: the strongest confidence is not built through never failing. It is built through knowing, even if life becomes difficult again, I trust myself to keep going. Another important principle: your future decisions improve when wisdom grows from past pain instead of fear. Another powerful truth: you deserve another chance to believe in yourself. Another important factor is surrounding yourself with environments that reinforce growth instead of shame. Healthy environments strengthen rebuilding. Another useful strategy is focusing on progress instead of perfection. You do not need flawless recovery. You need consistent recovery. Another critical insight: many people stay emotionally stuck because they never fully rebuild self trust after painful experiences. Do not allow that to happen to you. Another important principle: the relationship you build with yourself determines how powerfully you recover. Another powerful truth: you become stronger every time you prove to yourself, "I can still rise after difficulty." Ultimately, your comeback accelerates when you stop doubting your ability to rebuild your life. So, as you move forward, stop treating yourself like someone permanently damaged. Stop allowing past mistakes to destroy present confidence. Stop doubting every step because life became painful before. Rebuild trust slowly. Keep promises to yourself. Strengthen your discipline. Learn from experience. And continue becoming someone you can rely on again. Because when self trust returns, confidence stabilizes, fear weakens, resilience deepens, and your comeback becomes rooted in something powerful: the belief that no matter what happens, you can trust yourself to rise again. Chapter 21: your pain can become purpose. Some people go through painful seasons and never recover fully. Others go through pain and somehow emerge wiser, stronger, and more intentional than before. What creates the difference? Purpose. This is a key principle. Pain becomes transformative when it begins creating meaning instead of only suffering. Now understand this clearly. Pain without growth feels empty. Failure without reflection feels destructive. Suffering without purpose feels unbearable. But when painful experiences begin teaching you wisdom, strength, compassion, discipline, emotional maturity, resilience, then suffering begins transforming into something deeper. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop asking only, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What can this experience build inside me?" That question changes recovery completely. Another important truth: some of the most powerful people were shaped through painful experiences they never would have chosen voluntarily. Pain taught them patience, endurance, self awareness, boundaries, strength under pressure, and eventually, those lessons changed the direction of their lives. Another critical insight: your pain may eventually help other people heal too. The wisdom you gain through struggle can become guidance, encouragement, and hope for someone else one day. This is how pain develops purpose. Another important principle: you must stop believing painful experiences automatically ruin your future. Some pain redirects people toward healthier environments, stronger habits, better decisions, deeper self awareness, more meaningful lives. Not every painful ending destroyed you, some awakened you. Breaking hopelessness requires discovering meaning beyond the suffering itself. A practical strategy is simple: Ask yourself, what is this experience teaching me that comfort never could? That question creates transformation. Another effective strategy is using pain as fuel instead of identity. Do not build your identity around suffering. Build wisdom from it. There is also value in recognizing how struggle increases emotional depth. People who survive painful seasons often become more compassionate, more understanding, more emotionally intelligent, more grateful, more resilient. Pain changes perspective. Now go deeper. Purpose restores hope. When suffering feels meaningless, people emotionally collapse faster. But when people believe, this experience can still create growth, strength begins returning internally. Another critical insight. Some people spend years trying to escape their pain mentally instead of learning from it. Healing accelerates when reflection replaces avoidance. Another important truth. You do not have to waste what hurt you. Even painful seasons can produce wisdom that strengthens your future. Another powerful principle. Growth often begins where comfort ends. This is why painful experiences sometimes produce the strongest transformations. Another important factor is refusing to become only identified by suffering. You are more than your trauma, your failure, your heartbreak, your disappointment, your darkest season. Pain may shape part of your story, but it is not the entire story. Another useful strategy is helping others while healing yourself. Sometimes purpose grows when your struggle becomes encouragement for someone else still fighting their own battles. Another critical insight. The people who rebuild strongest are often the people who stop asking, how do I erase this pain? And begin asking, how do I grow through it? That mindset creates resilience. Another important principle. Purpose does not always remove pain immediately, but purpose gives pain direction. That matters deeply. Another powerful truth. Some of your greatest strengths may develop from experiences you once thought would destroy you completely. Another important factor is emotional maturity. Mature healing asks, how can this experience make me wiser instead of only wounded? That perspective changes recovery. Another useful strategy is journaling lessons learned through hardship. Write what pain revealed, what changed inside you, what boundaries became necessary, what strengths developed, what future you now want differently. Reflection creates clarity. Another critical insight. Purpose transforms suffering into preparation. Some experiences prepare you for greater wisdom, deeper empathy, stronger leadership, healthier decisions, a more intentional future. Another important principle. Your scars can become reminders of survival instead of permanent symbols of defeat. Another powerful truth. People who rise after failure often become more powerful because pain forced them to become more intentional. Another important factor is refusing to let suffering make you emotionally hopeless. Pain changes seasons. Life changes. Healing happens. Transformation remains possible. Another useful strategy is reconnecting with vision after pain. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I still want to build from here? That question restores momentum. Another critical insight. The strongest comeback stories often begin inside people who decided their pain would not be wasted. Another important principle. You may not control what happened, but you can decide what it produces inside you. Another powerful truth. Your pain can become the very thing that develops the strength, wisdom, and purpose your future requires. Ultimately, suffer becomes transformative when it stops being only destruction and starts becoming preparation for growth. So as you move forward, stop believing your pain ruined every possibility ahead. Stop seeing failure only as loss. Stop allowing suffering to become meaningless emotionally. Learn from your struggle. Grow through your pain. Use difficult seasons to strengthen your character. And continue rebuilding a future shaped by wisdom instead of defeat. Because when pain becomes purpose, hope returns, strength deepens, vision expands, and your comeback becomes larger than the suffering that once tried to break you. That is where transformation reaches its deepest level, the moment you decide, my pain will not be wasted. Chapter 22. The comeback is built in private before the world sees it. Most people only notice success after it becomes visible, after the recovery, after the breakthrough. after the confidence returns, after the results appear. But what they do not see is the private rebuilding that happened first, the quiet discipline, the lonely healing, the repeated effort. The emotional battles nobody applauded. This is the key principle. Every powerful comeback is built privately before it becomes visible publicly. Now understand this clearly. Transformation rarely happens dramatically overnight. Real rebuilding usually happens slowly, quietly, in ordinary moments nobody celebrates. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop depending on immediate recognition while rebuilding their lives. And because of that, they continue growing even when nobody notices yet. Another important truth: private discipline creates public strength later. The routines you protect privately, the healing you commit to privately, the habits you rebuild privately, all of these eventually shape visible transformation. Another critical insight: many people quit because they expect immediate external proof that recovery is working. But growth often remains invisible before results appear. This is why patience matters deeply during rebuilding seasons. Another important principle: you must learn how to continue improving without constant applause. Not every stage of growth receives recognition immediately. Breaking the need for visible validation requires internal commitment. You must stop asking, "Why is nobody noticing my progress?" and begin asking, "Am I becoming stronger consistently?" That question changes focus. A practical strategy is simple: respect small private victories. Getting up again matters. Staying disciplined matters. Protecting your peace matters. Continuing despite emotional exhaustion matters. These small victories create major transformation over time. Another effective strategy is protecting your rebuilding process from unnecessary exposure. Not every stage of healing needs public discussion. Some growth becomes stronger in silence. There's also value in consistency during unseen seasons. The person you're becoming is shaped most by what you repeatedly do when nobody is watching. Now go deeper. Private rebuilding develops internal strength. Why? Because you learn how to continue without praise, without attention, without immediate reward, without visible proof yet. That creates deep resilience. Another critical insight: many people admire success publicly but underestimate the private discipline required to build it. Every comeback contains unseen work. Another important truth: invisible progress is still progress. Healing emotionally, improving mentally, rebuilding habits, strengthening discipline. These things matter even before results become obvious externally. Another powerful principle: the strongest identities are often built during seasons where nobody fully understands what you are overcoming privately. Another important factor is avoiding discouragement during quiet seasons. Just because progress is not visible yet does not mean transformation is not happening. Growth often develops internally before externally. Another useful strategy is creating private standards. Do not let your effort depend entirely on praise, recognition, validation, attention from others. Build standards that remain consistent privately, too. Another critical insight: the people who rise strongest after failure are often the people who stayed committed during seasons where nobody expected them to recover. Another important principle: private consistency eventually creates visible change. Never underestimate the power of repeated disciplined effort. Another powerful truth: some of your greatest growth will happen quietly before the world ever notices it. Another important factor is emotional independence. You must become strong enough to continue rebuilding even when support feels limited temporarily. Another useful strategy is documenting your progress privately. Journal small victories, lessons learned, habits rebuilt, emotional growth, moments you continue despite pain. This helps you recognize transformation that others may not yet see. Another critical insight: most people only see the comeback. They rarely see the lonely rebuilding season that created it. Another important principle: do not confuse invisibility with failure. Many powerful transformations happen quietly first. Another powerful truth: your future is being shaped daily by actions nobody else may currently recognize. Another important factor is trusting the rebuilding process. Some results require time before they become visible. Remain patient with growth. Another useful strategy is protecting your environment during private rebuilding seasons. Stay close to healthy habits, focus routines, positive influences, growth-minded people, constructive thinking. These strengthen long-term recovery. Another critical insight: quiet rebuilding seasons often create the strongest foundations because they force people to develop discipline without external reward. Another important principle: your comeback is already happening every time you continue healing, growing, and rebuilding consistently, even if nobody else fully sees it yet. Another important factor is hope during invisible seasons. Do not quit simply because results are delayed. Transformation takes time. Another useful strategy is focusing on identity more than appearance. Ask yourself, who am I becoming through this process? That question creates deeper motivation. Another critical insight: many extraordinary recoveries began quietly inside people who simply refused to stop rebuilding privately. Another important principle: your progress still matters even when it is not being applauded publicly. Another powerful truth: one day people may see your strength, but they may never fully understand the private battles that built it. Ultimately, the comeback is built in private long before the world ever sees the results. So as you move forward, stop believing growth only matters when people notice it. Stop depending completely on external recognition to continue rebuilding. Stop underestimating the quiet work shaping your future daily. Protect your discipline privately. Protect your healing privately. Protect your growth consistently. And continue becoming stronger one unseen step at a time. Because when private discipline becomes your lifestyle, resilience deepens, confidence strengthens, transformation accelerates, and your comeback eventually becomes undeniable. That is where lasting strength is built, inside the quiet decision to continue rebuilding, even when nobody is watching yet. Chapter 23. You are stronger than the version of you that first broke down. There was a version of you that thought the pain would destroy you. A version of you that felt overwhelmed, confused, exhausted, hopeless. A version of you that did not know how recovery would happen. And yet, you are still here, still breathing, still rebuilding, still fighting to move forward. That matters more than you realize. This is the key principle. Every difficult season you survive changes you, but survival can also make you stronger than before. Now understand this clearly. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed during hard seasons, continuing after disappointment, trying again after rejection, healing quietly, surviving emotional exhaustion, refusing to completely give up. These moments build resilience internally. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop defining themselves only by the moment they broke down and begin recognizing the strength it took to keep going afterward. That shift changes identity. Another important truth: you often do not realize how much stronger you became until you look back. The things that once destroyed your peace completely, you now handle with greater wisdom and awareness. Pain changed you, but survival changed you too. Another critical insight: hardship develops emotional muscles comfort never could. Patience, discernment, endurance, self-awareness, emotional control, strength under pressure. These qualities are often built during seasons people never wanted to experience. Another important principle: do not judge yourself only by your moments of weakness. Judge yourself also by your ability to continue despite them. Breaking the habit of self-doubt requires remembering your resilience honestly. You survived days you thought would break you, moments you thought you could not endure, emotional battles nobody fully understood, seasons where hope felt distant, and still you continued. That matters deeply. A practical strategy is simple. Start acknowledging your growth intentionally. Stop only focusing on what failed, what hurt, what you lost. Also recognize what you survived, what you learned, how you matured, how you rebuilt yourself. That creates healthier self-awareness. Another effective strategy is replacing self-criticism with honest recognition. You are not weak because life affected you emotionally. You are human, and humans grow through struggle. There is also value in understanding that breakdowns do not erase your strength. Sometimes people break down because they carried too much for too long. Now go deeper. Recovery changes identity. You begin seeing life differently after painful seasons. Priorities shift, boundaries strengthen, wisdom deepens, and often you stop tolerating things that once weakened your peace. Another critical insight: the version of you after survival is often wiser than the version of you before the pain began, not because suffering is enjoyable, but because struggle reveals truth clearly. Another important truth: your scars are evidence of healing too, not only evidence of pain. Another powerful principle: you must stop speaking to yourself like you are still powerless. You are rebuilding now, growing now, learning now. That matters. Another important factor is self-respect after survival. Respect yourself for continuing, for adapting, for refusing to completely surrender. Those choices required strength. Another useful strategy is remembering previous victories during current struggles. When fear says, "You won't recover," remind yourself, "You already survived difficult seasons before." That evidence weakens hopelessness. Another critical insight: many people underestimate themselves because they only focus on their pain and ignore their resilience. Do not make that mistake. Another important principle: your survival deserves acknowledgement. You fought battles internally that nobody else fully saw, and you are still moving forward. Another powerful truth: the strongest people are not people who never broke down. They are people who rebuilt themselves after breaking. Another important factor is emotional maturity. Mature healing recognizes both truths. Yes, I suffered, and yes, I became stronger through survival. Both can exist together. Another useful strategy is rebuilding identity intentionally. Stop introducing yourself mentally through old pain. Begin focusing on the person you are becoming now. Another critical insight: you are no longer the same person who first entered the painful season. Experience changed you. Growth changed you. Recovery changed you. Another important principle: do not remain emotionally trapped inside the weakest version of yourself. You have already grown beyond that moment. Another powerful truth: your comeback becomes stronger when you finally recognize your own resilience instead of only your suffering. Another important factor is hope for the future. If you survived this much already, you are capable of building more than fear tells you. Another useful strategy is daily self-respect through action. Protect your discipline, your peace, your health, your growth, your future vision. These actions reinforce strength internally. Another critical insight: some people spend years waiting to feel powerful again, without realizing survival itself already proved their strength. Another important principle: you are stronger than the version of you that first collapsed under the pressure. Never forget that. Another powerful truth: the person rebuilding now is wiser, more aware, and more resilient than the person who once believed the pain would completely destroy them. Ultimately, survival changes you, but rebuilding transforms you even more. So as you move forward, stop defining yourself only by the moments you broke down. Stop ignoring the resilience that carried you through difficult seasons. Stop speaking to yourself like you are still powerless. Honor your healing. Respect your growth. Recognize your strength honestly. And continue becoming the stronger version of yourself that pain helped reveal. Because when you finally recognize your resilience, confidence returns, hope deepens, identity strengthens, and your comeback becomes rooted in something powerful: the realization that you survived what once felt impossible. That is where true strength becomes visible. The moment you realize, "I am no longer the person who first fell apart." Chapter 24. Your future is bigger than what tried to break you. When people go through painful seasons, it is easy to believe the damage is permanent. Easy to believe, "This is all my life will ever be now. I'll never fully recover. I'll never feel strong again. My best days are behind me." Pain narrows perspective. Failure narrows vision. Disappointment convinces people their future became smaller. But this is the truth. Your future is still larger than the pain you survived. This is the key principle. What happened to you does not have to become the limit of what you can still become. Now understand this clearly. Pain changes people. Yes, but pain does not automatically destroy possibility. Many people rebuild stronger futures after failure, heartbreak, loss, rejection, depression, financial collapse, emotional breakdowns, seasons of uncertainty. Why? Because difficult chapters are not final chapters unless people stop moving forward completely. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop measuring their future only by their current pain. And because of that, hope survives. Another important truth. Your mind often believes the current season will last forever. But emotions change. Situations change. People heal. Life evolves. The way you feel now is not permanent. Another critical insight. Many people unknowingly build emotional prisons after painful experiences. They stop trying, dreaming, trusting, growing, hoping, pursuing opportunity. Not because life ended, but because fear convinced them recovery was impossible. This is why mindset matters so much during rebuilding seasons. Another important principle. Your future deserves more attention than your fear. Breaking hopeless thinking requires intentional vision again. You must begin imagining possibility beyond the pain. A practical strategy is simple. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I still want to build from here? That question restores direction. Another effective strategy is focusing on future identity instead of past damage. Do not only ask, what happened to me? Also ask, who am I becoming now? That creates transformation. There is also value in understanding that pain often increases clarity. After difficult seasons, people frequently become more intentional, more disciplined, more emotionally aware, more focused on what truly matters. Growth changes perspective. Now go deeper. Your future expands the moment you stop seeing yourself only as broken. You are healing, learning, rebuilding, developing strength. That means your story is still moving forward. Another critical insight. Some people spend years emotionally worshiping the chapter that hurt them most. They replay it constantly, build identity around it, stay emotionally connected to it. Do not do that. Your future deserves room to grow beyond the pain. Another important truth. The fact that life became difficult does not mean life became meaningless. There is still purpose, opportunity, growth, connection, peace, joy, transformation ahead of you. Another powerful principle. Pain may become part of your story, but it does not deserve permanent control over your destiny. Another important factor is refusing emotional surrender. Do not let temporary suffering convince you to permanently abandon your future. Another useful strategy is future-focused discipline. Build routines now that support the life you still want. Healthy habits, learning, healing, focused work, positive environments, strong boundaries. Small daily actions rebuild future possibility. Another critical insight. The people who recover strongest are often the people who decided, my pain will not be the biggest thing about my life. That decision changes everything. Another important principle. You're allowed to dream again after painful seasons. You are allowed to rebuild vision again. You are allowed to hope again. Never forget that. Another powerful truth. Some of the most meaningful lives are built after seasons people once thought would destroy them completely. Another important factor is patience. A better future may not appear instantly, but progress compounds. Healing compounds. Growth compounds. Do not quit too early. Another useful strategy is protecting your imagination from negativity. Your mind needs space to believe. Something better is still possible. Protect that belief carefully. Another critical insight. Fear constantly tries to convince people their future became smaller after pain. But resilience expands possibility again. Another important principle. Your comeback becomes stronger when your focus becomes larger than your suffering. Another powerful truth. The strongest futures are often built by people who refuse to let pain permanently define what they were capable of becoming. Another important factor is emotional courage. It takes courage to believe in life again after disappointment. But that courage creates transformation. Another useful strategy is visualizing the healed version of yourself. Imagine your peace restored, your confidence rebuilt, your strength deepened, your purpose clarified, your future expanding again. Vision strengthens hope. Another critical insight: you may still be in recovery, but recovery is not the end of your story. Another important principle: pain may have interrupted your life, but it does not own the rest of it. Another powerful truth: your future still contains possibilities your current pain cannot fully see yet. Ultimately, your future becomes powerful again the moment you stop believing your suffering permanently destroyed your potential. So as you move forward, stop defining your future by your darkest season. Stop believing pain erased every possibility ahead. Stop surrendering your vision because life became difficult. Heal honestly, rebuild patiently, dream again, grow again, and continue creating a future stronger than the pain you survived. Because when hope becomes stronger than fear, vision returns, strength deepens, possibility expands, and your comeback becomes bigger than the setback that once tried to break you. That is where real transformation happens. The moment you decide, my future is still greater than my pain. Chapter 25. One day you will thank yourself for not giving up. There will come a day when you look back at this season differently, not with the same pain, not with the same hopelessness, not with the same fear, but with understanding. Because one day you will realize the moment you almost gave up was the moment your transformation truly began. This is the key principle. The decision to continue during difficult seasons changes the direction of your entire future. Now understand this clearly. Right now, the rebuilding may feel slow. The healing may feel incomplete. The progress may feel invisible. But do not underestimate what persistence is creating inside you. Every day you continue, you become stronger. You become wiser. You become more disciplined. You become more emotionally resilient. You become more aware of your true strength. Transformation is happening even before results fully appear. Mentally resilient people understand this deeply. They stop demanding immediate proof before continuing their recovery. And because of that, their future eventually changes in ways they once thought were impossible. Another important truth: many people quit too early. They leave during the painful season, the uncertain season, the rebuilding season, the invisible progress season, not realizing they were much closer to transformation than they believed. This is why persistence matters so deeply. Another critical insight: your future self will remember how you responded during hardship, not just the pain, but the courage, the discipline, the rebuilding, the refusal to completely surrender. That strength becomes part of your identity permanently. Another important principle: you must stop judging your recovery only by immediate results. Growth often happens internally first. Mindset changes first. Habits strengthen first. Character deepens first. Then visible transformation follows later. Breaking discouragement requires long-term perspective. You must remember, healing takes time. Growth takes time. Comebacks take time. A practical strategy is simple. Focus on continuing, not on becoming perfect instantly. Consistency creates transformation. Another effective strategy is recognizing progress honestly. Do not ignore your healing, your emotional growth, your increased awareness, your improved resilience, your discipline returning. These are signs of recovery. There's also value in understanding that painful seasons often create the strongest future versions of people. Struggle develops depth. Now go deeper. One day you may realize, if life had not challenged you, you may never have discovered your true resilience. Some strengths only appear after survival. Another critical insight: your current pain may eventually become wisdom you carry for the rest of your life. Wisdom about people, boundaries, purpose, strength, discipline, healing, the importance of protecting peace. Pain can create clarity. Another important truth: the version of you rebuilding now is already different from the version that first broke down. Growth has already begun. Another powerful principle: future peace is often built through present perseverance. The life you want later requires strength now. Another important factor is hope during slow seasons. Do not quit simply because results are delayed. Invisible progress still matters. Another useful strategy is remembering why you chose to continue. You kept going because your future matters, your life matters, your healing matters, your growth matters. Never forget that. Another critical insight. People often realize their strength only after surviving seasons they once thought would destroy them. Another important principle. One day the pain that almost ended you may become proof of how resilient you truly are. Another powerful truth. Your comeback story is being written every time you choose growth instead of surrender. Another important factor is self-respect through perseverance. Every day you continue rebuilding. You strengthen trust in yourself. That matters deeply. Another useful strategy is visualizing your healed future self. Imagine the version of you who recovered emotionally, rebuilt confidence, found peace again, became wiser, refused to quit. That version is being built now. Another critical insight. Many people eventually become grateful they survived seasons they once begged to escape, because those seasons transform them. Another important principle. The pain you survived does not only represent suffering, it also represents endurance, growth, strength, and survival. Another powerful truth. Your future can still become meaningful, peaceful, successful, and powerful despite everything you went through. Another important factor is patience with the process. Do not rush healing. Do not rush growth. Allow transformation to happen fully. Another useful strategy is continuing daily disciplined action, even when emotions fluctuate. Consistency creates stability. Stability creates momentum. Momentum creates transformation. Another critical insight. The people who build extraordinary comebacks are often ordinary people who simply refuse to stop rebuilding. Another important principle. Your life deserves another chapter beyond the pain. Another powerful truth. One day you will look back and realize the moment you kept going instead of giving up changed everything. Ultimately, your future is being shaped right now by the decision to continue despite difficulty. So as you move forward, stop believing your struggle is meaningless. Stop thinking healing is happening too slowly. Stop underestimating the strength you are developing quietly. Continue rebuilding. Continue healing. Continue believing. And continue becoming the stronger version of yourself that this season is shaping. Because one day, you will thank yourself for not giving up. You will thank yourself for surviving. You will thank yourself for rebuilding. And you will realize that the comeback you are building now was worth every step forward you chose to take. That is where victory truly begins. The moment you decide, I will continue, no matter how difficult this season feels. Conclusion. Rise after failure. Your story is not finished. You have reached the end of this journey. But this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your rise. Because everything you have learned throughout this audiobook leads to one truth. Failure is not final unless you decide to stop rebuilding. Now understand this clearly. You survived things that once felt impossible. Moments that broke your confidence. Moments that tested your identity. Moments where you questioned your future, your strength, and your ability to continue. And yet, you are still here, still breathing, still healing, still becoming stronger. That matters more than you realize. Throughout this audiobook, you learned failure does not define you. Pain can build strength instead of bitterness. Healing requires responsibility. Shame loses power when you stop hiding. Fear cannot control a future that keeps moving. Your comeback begins privately before it becomes visible publicly. Resilience grows every time you rise again. Your future is bigger than the pain you survived. And most importantly, you learn that your story is still being written. Another important truth. Comebacks are not built through motivation alone. They are built through daily rebuilding, emotional honesty, discipline during difficult seasons, the courage to continue despite uncertainty, the refusal to permanently surrender. That is where transformation happens. Another critical insight. Your scars are not only evidence of pain. They are evidence of survival, evidence that you endured, evidence that you kept moving forward when giving up would have been easier. Never forget that. Another important principle. Healing is not becoming the person you were before the pain. Healing is becoming wiser, stronger, and more intentional because of what you survived. That changes everything. Another powerful truth. The strongest people are often not the people who avoided hardship. They are the people who refuse to stay broken after hardship. And now, that strength is developing inside you too. Another important factor. You do not need to rebuild perfectly. You simply need to continue rebuilding consistently. Some days will feel heavy. Some days healing will feel slow. Some days doubt will return. Continue anyway, because consistency creates recovery. Recovery creates strength, and strength creates transformation. Another useful reminder. Stop defining yourself by your worst mistake, your darkest season, your biggest disappointment, your most painful failure. You are more than what hurt you. You are also the person who survived, the person rebuilding, the person learning, the person growing, the person rising again. That identity matters now. Another critical insight. Your future still contains possibilities your current pain cannot fully imagine yet. There is still peace, growth, purpose, opportunity, strength, joy, new beginnings ahead of you. Do not allow temporary suffering to make permanent decisions about your future. Another important principle. You must protect hope carefully. Hope is not weakness. Hope is what allows people to rebuild after collapse. Hope is what keeps people moving after disappointment. Hope is what transforms survival into comeback. Another powerful truth. One day you may look back at this painful season and realize, this was the season that changed me. Not because suffering was enjoyable, but because suffering forced growth, strength, wisdom, and resilience to develop inside you. Another important factor is self-respect. Respect yourself for continuing, healing, surviving, trying again, refusing to completely quit. Those choices required courage. Another useful reminder. Do not rush your healing. Transformation takes time. Strong foundations are built gradually. Allow yourself to grow fully through the process. Another critical insight. Every difficult season eventually asks one final question. Will you remain broken or will you rise? And the answer is found in what you do next. Another important principle. Your comeback begins every time you choose. Hope over hopelessness. Growth over bitterness. Discipline over surrender. Action over fear. Healing over emotional imprisonment. Those choices reshape identity. Another powerful truth. You are stronger now than when this journey first began, even if you do not fully see it yet. Ultimately, this audiobook was never only about failure. It was about what happens after failure, the rebuilding, the healing, the rising, the transformation. And now, the next chapter belongs to you. So as you move forward, stop believing your life ended because painful seasons happened. Stop allowing fear to define your future. Stop identifying only with the moments that broke you. Heal honestly, rebuild patiently, trust yourself again, and continue becoming the stronger version of yourself waiting on the other side of this difficult season. Because when you refuse to stay down, pain becomes wisdom, failure becomes growth, and setbacks become the foundation for a stronger future. That is where the comeback becomes real. The moment you decide, my story is not ending.